Back in their younger days, Aryam remembers always feeling uncomfortable around boys. Her childhood friend, Byomyang, was the one exception. Though he could be annoying, he was never scary. One afternoon, his friends roped him into a soccer match. Without a second thought, he tossed his bag to Aryam, ordering her to watch it before sprinting onto the field. The other kids cheered wildly, absolutely sure they were going to win now that their ace had arrived. On the field, Byomyang was an absolute monster. He scored a goal, then wiped the sweat from his face, lifting his shirt. All the girls went wild over his physique, but Aryam was totally unimpressed, finding it gross. She remembered how this intense side of him felt almost scary. The memory suddenly dissolves, slamming her back to the present. She wakes up to a shocking scene. She's in bed, completely bare, and lying right next to that same guy. Aryam scrambles to get dressed, her mind reeling from a total memory blackout. Staring at the chaotic mess of clothes on the floor, she prays nothing happened, but the evidence screams otherwise. Later, during what should be a serious job interview, the recruiter's words are just background noise. She's completely panicking inside, unable to focus. The only thing looping in her head is the vivid, inescapable image of Baek Byomyang from the night before. Crying on the stairs, Aryam feels completely defeated. Another job rejection just hit her inbox, and she blames it all on the incident that destroyed her interview focus. Desperate to forget, she starts screaming and flailing about, trying to physically shake the memories away. Suddenly, a voice asks what she's doing. It's Byomyang. Startled, she yells at him for sneaking up on her, but he calmly retorts that her bizarre behavior was what scared him. Byomyang coolly asks what she expected, explaining that any sane person would be startled by a messy girl screaming on the stairs. Annoyed, Aryam tells him to just go home. He turns and walks away without another word, but as she stares at his broad back, a shocking memory from that night flashes in her mind. She lets out a gasp, her face turning bright red. Horrified, she wonders why these nightmarish flashbacks keep ambushing her. Byomyang leans in, pointing out that she's trembling and avoiding his gaze. As Aryam panics, convinced he's about to confront her about that night, another memory flashes, the shadow of a tiger. But just as the tension peaks, he suddenly asks if she's eaten dinner. Relieved, Aryam forces a cheerful smile and quickly agrees to go up. The moment he turns, she makes a desperate dash for the elevator, leaving him standing there completely bewildered. Struggling with her door code, a flustered Aryam wonders why she keeps messing up. Suddenly, Byomyang appears behind her, his tone serious as he asks if they can talk. The next thing she knows, they're sitting in a restaurant. He urges her to eat, but Aryam is too anxious and insists she isn't hungry. In response, Byomyang puts his own utensils down, stubbornly declaring that if she refuses to eat, then he won't either. Defeated, Aryam gives in. She knows that stubborn look on his face means she can't win. This is Baek Byomyang, after all, a legendary soccer star who won an Olympic gold medal and became the highest paid player in the league. He even rejected a massive overseas offer, telling the press he simply missed Korean food. As she takes a bite, Aryam thinks the excuse sounds unbelievable, but the delicious taste makes her face light up instantly. As Aryam enjoys the amazing food, she starts to think maybe Byomyang just didn't want to eat alone. Watching him devour his noodles, she finally begins to relax. But just as she reaches for another bite, his sudden question shatters the peace. He asks her why she left that morning. Frozen in shock, the food falls from her chopsticks. He presses on, demanding to know why she ran away after the night they spent together. Stunned, Aryam jolts back, demanding to know what he's talking about. She denies they ever spent a night together. Unfazed, Byomyang calmly specifies it was last Friday, the day she failed her big magazine interview. He then leans forward, getting even more specific, asking if she recalls the drunken night he became a man because of her. Flustered, Aryam points a finger across the table, shouting at him to stop joking and furiously insisting nothing happened between them. With a smug grin, Byomyang asks if she's sure. Aryam admits she doesn't remember, but he questions how she can be so certain if her memory is blank. Firing back, she yells that he never contacted her either. He coolly claims he was just busy, but she spots his tell. His ears are bright red. Reaching across the table, she flicks his ear, pointing out they always get red when he lies, triumphantly concluding he doesn't remember what happened either. Cornered, Byomyang quickly grabs her hand, his face bright red as he insists he remembers everything. He doubles down, telling her she has no right to be confident since she saw him completely exposed. An angelic image of a shirtless Byomyang flashes in Aryam's mind, and she shrieks that she saw nothing. His embarrassment instantly turns to fury. Like a tiger, he roars that she absolutely saw him and demands she take full responsibility. Alone in her room, Aryam flops onto her bed, completely overwhelmed. She fumes that Baek Byeomyang is so annoying. Why should she have to take responsibility just because she saw him? The worst part is, she can't fight back because her memory is a total blank. Determined to figure it out, she tries to recall that day. Suddenly, it clicks. It was the day she received that crushing rejection text from Y magazine. Her memory starts to return. Furious over the rejection, Aryam remembers drinking way more than usual. After finishing her stash, she decided to buy more, even breaking her piggy bank for cash. Her mom warned her that Byeomyang would be home soon, but she ignored the warning and dashed out. Back in the present, Aryam is horrified. She realizes she must have run into him in that messy state and desperately tries to recall what happened between them after that fateful encounter. Her frantic search for memories is cut short when her mom calls her to eat. Aryam refuses, still a mess from the night before, but her mom isn't having it, giving her a classic ultimatum to get dressed and come out. It finally dawns on her, Byeomyang must be visiting. She quickly throws on a sweater and peeks out, only to find him chatting happily with her father, who just returned from a trip and even brought him a gift. Seeing Byeomyang getting chummy with her dad, Aryam is stunned silent. Her father calls out to her, but she walks right past him with a single-minded purpose. She marches over to Byeomyang, yanks her hoodie over his head, and starts aggressively drying his hair. She scolds him, reminding him that she told him to dry it before he catches a cold. Then, without missing a beat, she sits beside him and announces that she's hungry, leaving him completely baffled. Annoyed with herself for acting on instinct, Aryam realizes old habits are truly scary. She yanks the hoodie off Byeomyang, telling him to finish drying his hair himself. At the dinner table, he completely wins over her mom with compliments. Aryam's mom gushes over him, promising to cook his favorite dish for his rehab and asking what he wants to eat. Aryam can only watch in silent disbelief as Byeomyang thanks her mom, the perfect guest in her own home. Aryam's mom continues to gush over Byeomyang, calling him a fine boy. Feeling awkward, Aryam tries to escape to her room, but he yanks her back by the hoodie. He insists she at least stay and watch him wash the dishes. Wearing a floral apron, he easily takes over the small sink. Aryam remembers he always said it was too small for them both. Once finished, he leans over her chair from behind and asks if she's happy now. Without warning, Byeomyang yanks a startled Aryam into his arms. He cheerfully informs her mom that he's just borrowing her for a bit and will return her before bedtime. To Aryam's horror, her mom just laughs from the couch, telling them not to be too late. Aryam struggles, shouting for him to let go, but her protests are useless. He effortlessly drags her out the door as she screams that her mom is being completely unfair. Byeomyang ignores Aryam's protests, dragging her all the way to his apartment. She tries to pull her arm away, insisting she can walk on her own, but he doesn't let go. After punching in his passcode, the door clicks open and he leads her into the sterile, modern living room. As she notes how cold and empty the place feels, Byeomyang suddenly drops onto the couch. He turns to her, bluntly asking if she's remembered anything yet. Aryam beams, cheerfully announcing she remembers absolutely nothing. But when she flips the question on him, Byeomyang just shakes his head. She snaps, asking why she should be the one to remember. He mumbles that it's because she can handle alcohol better than him. He then reminds her he only plans to get serious with the person he marries. Aryam casually agrees, and the sudden awkward silence makes her frantically shout that nothing happened between them. Byeomyang scoffs, telling Aryam to remember properly if she wants him to believe her. She snaps back, asking how she can remember something she doesn't know. Annoyed, he grabs her arm and yanks her towards a room. He throws the bedroom door open, revealing the messy bed inside. He yells that if she was truly trying, she would have come to the scene of the incident. Confused, Aryam asks if someone died. Byeomyang dramatically declares that something did, their memories. Aryam's eyes land on her clothes scattered on the bedroom floor, and her mind spins. A hazy, intimate memory flashes before her, but she desperately pushes it away, deciding to deny everything. Overwhelmed with anxiety, she starts biting her nails. Suddenly, Byeomyang grabs her hand, startling her. He gently tells her to stop, warning that she'll leave scars. He then softly holds her fingers, his touch sending a jolt through her as she stares at him in confusion. As Byeomyang holds her hand, a memory suddenly flashes in Aryam's mind. He turns to her, claiming he also just remembered something important. After checking that her nails are fine, he drops a bombshell. He looks her dead in the eye and reveals that on that night, she was the one who kissed him. Aryam is floored, her thoughts racing in complete denial as she frantically questions why on earth she would ever do something like that. Byeomyang smirks, asking if she's disgusted by the thought of kissing him. Flustered, Aryam demands details, but he just points to the bed, claiming she pounced on him right there. The accusation sends her into a full-blown panic. She waves her arms frantically, questioning if they really spent the night together. Completely unfazed by her meltdown, Byomyong simply tells her to stop whining and lie down on the bed so they can figure this out. Byomyong's teasing backfires spectacularly when Aryam suddenly climbs on top of him. Stunned, he asks what she's doing, but she just yanks him upright. She tells him that if he wants her to remember, then she'll put in the effort to recall what happened. Before he can even process her words, she leans in and presses her lips against his. Byomyong is left completely frozen, his eyes wide with shock as Aryam takes charge to recreate the scene. As Aryam stares at Byomyong, she admits to herself that while he's the opposite of her type, he looks surprisingly pretty, lying there. Shaking off the thought, she asks him again how the kiss happened. Byomyong weakly suggests it was just like this when their lips touched. Taking matters into her own hands, Aryam suddenly leans in and presses her lips against his. The unexpected move catches Byomyong completely off guard, his eyes widening in total shock. Just as their lips are about to meet, Byomyong suddenly tells her not to bite. Aryam pulls back, confused, until he clarifies that he meant she shouldn't bite her own lips. Pulling her into a tight embrace, he instructs her to just keep them open. The air gets heavy as he confirms that's exactly right. Their lips finally connect again in an intense moment, and all Byomyong can think is how hot it is. Byomyong grows bolder, his lips trailing along Aryam's neck. As he whispers her name, something snaps into place. A fuzzy image flashes through her mind, a scene from that night. In the memory, she was the one on top of him, and he looked completely dazed. Aryam suddenly pulls back, her hand flying to her mouth in utter shock. The horrifying realization dawns on her. She just remembered a piece of what happened between them. The moment their lips meet, a fragmented memory flashes through Aryam's mind. It's a hazy vision from that night, and she was the one on top of him, initiating everything. The shocking realization sends her reeling backward. She stumbles away in a panic, trying to process what she just saw. But Byomyong has had enough of her running away. He grabs her hoodie, yanking her back and furiously shouting her name. This is far from over. Aryam suddenly yelps and jolts back, completely bewildered. Caught off guard by her panic, Byomyong asks why she's freaking out. Dazed, she clutches his shirt before reality crashes down on her. She scrambles backward, sputtering a frantic apology, but he isn't letting her escape this time. He grabs her wrists, stopping her cold. With an intense, knowing look, he declares that she finally remembered, demanding she admit it. Aryam frantically denies it, insisting she doesn't remember a thing. But Byomyong isn't buying it. He yanks her forward, his patience worn thin. Leaning in close, he pins her with an intense stare and asks a single question. Did she kiss him that night? His words trigger another flashback, a clearer, more heated memory of their intimate encounter. Snapping back to the present, Aryam's mind reels. She realizes with dawning horror it was much more than a kiss. Aryam's mind races. He's already furious, but if he finds out what really happened that night, it's over. She decides to keep her mouth shut. In a panic, she jerks her hand away, but accidentally hurts his wrist. Her fear instantly melts into worry. Forgetting her own crisis, she grabs his hand, apologizing and asking if he's okay. Byomyong stares, caught off guard by her sudden switch from frantic denial to genuine concern. Byomyong holds a stunned Aryam, but she eventually breaks away. Later at the library, she tries to distract herself with studying, but it's no use. The full memory of that night hits her like a truck. She realizes with dawning horror that she and Byomyong, the boy she's known forever, went way further than just a kiss. A wave of childhood memories follows, from him clumsily doctoring her scrapes to her embarrassing him in front of everyone. Her mind floods with memories of their childhood, playing house, teasing him until he cried. But this isn't a game anymore. The crushing reality of what she did sends her into a spiral, so loud she gets shushed in the library. Later that night, Aryam tries to play it cool, but her mom sees right through her act. She cuts straight to the chase, asking the one question Aryam can't handle. Did she have a fight with Byomyong? Aryam quickly denies fighting, but the sound of the front door sends her into a panic. She bolts for her room, shouting for her mom to say she's sick and asleep. Right on cue, Byomyong walks in, asking where she is. Her mom gives him the flimsy excuse, adding that Aryam is always tired. He offers to wake her, but his mom tells him to let her rest and eat first, leaving Aryam to nervously listen from behind her door. Hiding in bed, Aryam desperately hopes the problem will just disappear if she ignores him long enough. But even as she drifts off, memories of that night flood her mind, the intense warmth of his body, his lips, everything. She wonders if he's a human electric blanket. A voice suddenly calls her name, demanding she wake up. Prying her eyes open, she finds the very person she's been avoiding, Byomyong, standing right over her bed. Aryam groggily asks what Byomyong is doing in her room. He calls her a dummy and says her mom told him to wake her up. Before she can protest, he yanks her out of bed. She frantically asks where her mom is, but he calmly explains she went to a friend's house. Feeling abandoned, Aryam complains that everyone leaves her out. Seeing her distress, Byomyong's expression softens slightly as he quietly offers her a glass of water. As Aryam drinks from her mug, she suddenly remembers her plan to avoid Byomyong entirely. Too late. He starts nagging her, asking why she can't wake up properly, and lecturing her about staying up late. Annoyed, she snaps that she only stayed up because of him. He looks confused, so she blurts out the truth. She couldn't sleep because she was thinking about him. Realizing what she just said, Aryam instantly regrets her big mouth, wishing she could take it back. Byomyong shoves Aryam out of bed, telling her to wash up so they can eat. When she stumbles into the kitchen, she's greeted by an incredible feast. Stunned, she asks what the occasion is, practically drooling at the sight of all the food. He just scolds her for not washing up yet. She rushes to get ready, begging him to wait for her. Finally clean, Aryam sits down and happily prepares to dig into the meal. Aryam happily devours the meal, exclaiming how delicious the ribs are. But the peaceful breakfast is cut short when Byomyong breaks the silence. An intense stare-down follows as they both demand the other speak first. Giving in, Aryam sets her chopsticks down and asks the million-dollar question, how much does he remember from that night? He just smirks and turns the question right back at her, making her see red. Byomyong accuses her of trying to pull a fast one, but then he suddenly cracks. He confesses that after their lips touched, his mind went completely blank. Aryam is floored. He remembers absolutely nothing at all. Panicking, she asks what they're supposed to do now. His only solution is for her to remember everything. Furious, Aryam retorts sarcastically, but her anger quickly melts into a feeling of dread as she wonders if she really has to. Byomyong drops a bombshell, suggesting they go see a doctor together. He then threatens to tell her parents every last detail of what happened. Aryam knows he's dead serious and panics, realizing she has to stop him. He suddenly tells her to get up since she's done eating. When she asks why, he calmly states that since she's supposed to remember, they're going to have to try and jog her memory. She's completely speechless. As Byomyong leads the way, a chill runs through the apartment. Aryam shivers, complaining about the cold, but he just says he told her to change. He guides her to a specific room, the only one with the heat on. She clutches a hoodie, completely confused about his plan, and asks what they're going to do now. Instead of giving her a straight answer, he simply turns and orders her to follow him, leaving her totally in the dark. Byomyong points to the bed and orders Aryam to lie down. Stunned, she accuses him of trying something weird. He retorts that this is all her fault, but she isn't having it. In a burst of frustration, she shoves him down onto the bed, shouting that he's the one who jumped her first. Pinning him down, she declares this is all to get her memories back. Caught off guard by their sudden proximity, a blushing Byomyong just tells her to stay still. With the tables turned, Byomyong's tough guy act completely melts away. He nervously asks if she wants to marry him, admitting he's scared and questioning her method. But Aryam isn't backing down. Mocking his sudden fear, she reminds him that he's the one who's been threatening her. As he weakly pleads for her to stop, she firmly grabs his face, forcing him to meet her intense gaze. She's in control now. Byomyong is convinced Aryam remembered something, but she shuts him down immediately. He isn't buying it, demanding she tell him the truth. When she denies it again, he loses his cool and grabs her by the hoodie, shouting her name. This sudden aggression is too much, and Aryam bursts into tears. Totally baffled, Byomyong asks why she's crying now, saying she's driving him crazy. She whimpers that it's because he grabbed her too hard. Fed up, Aryam asks what she possibly could have done to him to deserve this. Before he can answer, she yanks herself free and bolts out the door. Stunned, Byomyong is left shouting her name down the empty hallway, but she's already gone. A little later, Aryam cautiously takes out the trash, nervously scanning the area. She's clearly trying to avoid running into him, hoping the coast is clear after their explosive fight. Realizing that avoiding Byomyong is never easy, Aryam suddenly remembers another time he terrorized her. As a child, she had a cherished doll named Mimi, her precious soul twin. But one day, a devilish young Byomyong took her beloved doll and set it on fire, burning it to ashes right before her horrified eyes. Snapping back to the present, she hears him calling her name. She quickly ducks behind a wall, hiding from the man who tormented her even then. Byomyong finally catches up to Aryam, asking if she's seriously still avoiding him over the childhood doll incident. He frantically swears it was an accident, explaining he had no idea the candle flame would catch the doll's hair so easily. He claims he was just frozen in shock as it happened. Despite his desperate pleas for her to believe him, Ariam remains unconvinced. As she walks away, she thinks to herself that she should have cut ties with him back then. Just as Byomyong is about to confront her again, a familiar face from his past, Jong Hae-soo, calls out to him. Annoyed by the interruption, Byomyong coldly declares he has nothing to say to the guy. Seizing the opportunity, Ariam makes a mad dash for freedom. When Hae-soo asks who the fleeing girl was, Byomyong surprisingly pretends not to know her. Safely hidden behind a bush, Ariam breathes a sigh of relief, realizing she just barely escaped. Peeking from her hiding spot, Ariam tries to place the guy talking to Byomyong, but draws a blank. Suddenly, her heart leaps into her throat as Byomyong's face appears right in front of her. Busted. He mocks her terrible hiding spot before nagging her for being outside without socks. Completely ignoring the other guy, he asks Ariam if she's eaten yet. When she says no, he immediately declares they're going inside for lunch, pulling her along before she can escape again. Ariam reluctantly agrees to go, thinking that even after avoiding him for a week, she just can't say no. Just then, Hae-soo pops the question, asking Byomyong if she's his girlfriend. Byomyong instantly shuts him down with a cold no. Ariam is stunned by his lightning-fast denial and feels a surprising sting of hurt. Ignoring Hae-soo completely, Byomyong tells him to leave, leaving Ariam to wonder why his blunt answer bothered her so much. Ignoring Byomyong's foul mood, Jeongo spots Ariam hiding behind him and cheerily introduces himself as a high school friend. He greets her directly, forcing a quiet, nervous hello out of the cornered Ariam. Surprised she actually spoke, Jeongo immediately starts guessing her identity, asking if she's Byomyong's cousin since he knows he doesn't have a sister. As his questions continue, Byomyong has had enough and begins pulling Ariam away, shutting down the interrogation for good. Byomyong harshly tells Jeongo to get lost, threatening to report him if he shows up uninvited again. When Jeongo weakly insists they're friends, Byomyong's glare is enough to silence him. Getting the message loud and clear, Jeongo nervously backs away, waving a hasty goodbye. Ariam asks if he was really a friend, but Byomyong shuts her down with a flat no. Without missing a beat, he reminds her they were going to get food. Ariam nervously shuffles her feet, wondering if things have ever felt this awkward between them. Byomyong breaks the tense silence, asking if she's just going to run away from him again. Flustered, Ariam insists she won't. Seizing the opportunity, he asks if she wants to go to his place to talk. Ready to finally face the music, she gives a small nod and quietly agrees, ready to follow him wherever he leads. Ariam trails Byomyong into his apartment, her mind reeling as she realizes a whole week has passed since that fateful night. They sit across from each other at a table, but the silence is absolutely deafening. He doesn't say a word, just stares her down with an intense, unreadable expression. Totally unsettled, Ariam nervously wonders why he's looking at her like that. She recalls he rarely smiles anymore, which makes his piercing gaze all the more terrifying. Byomyong finally breaks the silence, asking Ariam if she remembers what happened that night. When she admits she doesn't recall everything, he smirks, reminding her of the moment she was right on top of him. A fuzzy memory hits Ariam, and she flushes bright red. He presses on, asking how much she remembers before adding that after their kiss, stunned, Ariam demands to know what happened next, while a flustered yet satisfied look crosses Byomyong's face. Just as she's on the edge of her seat, Byomyong clams up, declaring he can't say any more. Suddenly, Ariam flashes back to a vision of him looking like a shy, blushing tiger cub. It hits her his whole tough guy act was a front because he was just as embarrassed. He accuses her of remembering everything and running away because of it. His voice cracks as he asks if kissing him was really that horrible. Panicked, Ariam insists that's not it at all. Byomyong's voice softens, his insecurity finally showing as he asks if she ran away because he's a bad kisser. Without a second thought, Ariam blurts out that he's actually amazing at it. The words hang in the air as she instantly regrets her outburst. He catches her slip up, asking how she could possibly know that. Cornered, she admits she remembers the kiss. He then pushes further, questioning if she disliked what happened after they locked lips. Totally flustered, Ariam blurts out that his skill didn't matter to her. Unconvinced, Byomyong demands to know why she's been avoiding him. She panics, insisting she wasn't running away, just trying to remember what happened. Just like he told her to. He softens, asking if she finally recalled the events of that night. Her hesitation is broken by a sudden, vivid memory, the intimate moment he leaned in and pressed his lips against her shoulder. Frustrated, Ariam admits she still can't recall the rest of the night. Byomyong hits her with a wild proposal. They should try it again, just one last time. A stunned Ariam demands to know what he means. He argues that whatever they did a week ago seemed to work and running away won't solve the problem. Mortified but realizing he's serious, she nervously agrees. With her consent, He simply tells her to follow him. He leads her into his bedroom, and her mind immediately races. Cheeks flushing, she recalls the exact moment his hand touched her chest. Suddenly, Byomyong swoops in and lifts her clean off the ground. He declares that this time he's going to be on top. A bewildered Aryam can only stare back in shock as he kicks the door open, carrying her right into the room. This tiger is not playing around. Byomyong immediately tells Aryam to lie down first. She questions his command, realizing that when he's in control, her mind goes blank. Impatient, he tells her to hurry up because he's hungry. Though she feels like she's being tricked, her desire to remember wins out. She sits nervously on the bed, asking if this is what he wants. He closes in without a word, his hand firmly gripping her shoulder as he looms over her. Byomyong promises not to touch a single hair, telling her to just stay still. Flustered but determined to remember, Aryam nervously agrees. A sly smirk creeps onto his face as he leans in closer, whispering that he'll lean down a little more, just like he did the last time. He closes the distance between them, the intense proximity making her heart pound as he tries to recreate the forgotten moment and finally jog her memory. Just as he gets closer, Aryam's hand moves on its own, her finger gently pressing against his lips. Byomyong freezes, a blush creeping up his face. He thinks the sensation feels completely different from that night, softer and plumper. While she stares at him, totally confused, a sudden realization hits him like a lightning bolt. Eyes wide with shock, he snatches his hand back from her shoulder, his entire face turning bright red from the revelation. As Byomyong blushes, a memory clicks into place. He finally recalls the sensation from their forgotten night. Aryam just stares, confused by his abrupt shift in mood. Before she can utter a single word, he makes his move. He lunges forward, pulling her into a sudden and intense kiss. Caught completely by surprise, she freezes. He deepens the embrace, determined to force the memory of their night back into her mind, one way or another. As their intense embrace continues, Byomyong's memory solidifies. It felt just as soft and wet that forgotten night. He effortlessly sweeps Aryam into his arms, carrying her across the room without breaking their connection. Laying her down gently, he pulls back, breathing heavily. Aryam is left completely dazed and flustered, her mind blank except for one question. Why did his kiss taste so sweet? Byomyong stares down, his own face bright red, lost in the overwhelming moment. Byomyong suddenly pulls back, his face beet red as he stammers a quick apology. Overwhelmed by his body's reaction, he admits he can't get up. A thought clicks for Aryam, so they didn't do anything that night either. He tells her to wrap her arms around his neck, but she asks if he even has any strength left. As he tenses up, she bluntly asks why he kissed her. The question leaves him completely speechless and stunned. Byomyong flips the script, accusing Aryam of touching him first, just like she did that forgotten night. She denies it, but he gets even more fired up, claiming she touched his lips with intense passion. Aryam defends herself, saying she was just trying to remember what happened. Unconvinced, he questions her logic. She fires back, asking why he got so into it then. Cornered, Byomyong admits he was also trying to remember, leaving Aryam completely baffled by his excuse. Byomyong suddenly stands, turning his back to her. He declares that since she kissed him while sober, she has to take responsibility. Aryam is completely lost, asking what he's been talking about this whole time. Face flushed and still unable to turn around, Byomyong blurts out his shocking demand. She has to date him. The out-of-the-blue proposal hits Aryam like a ton of bricks, leaving her utterly speechless and stunned. What did he just say? With his back still turned and face burning red, Byomyong drops another bombshell, demanding that she date him. Aryam is completely floored, her mind struggling to process the out-of-the-blue confession. Seeing her stunned silence, he nervously peeks back and asks if she doesn't want to. The question makes something click for Aryam. Cutting through the confusion, she looks at him and bluntly asks if he actually has feelings for her, leaving him totally speechless. Cornered, Byomyong's face flushes as he admits the obvious, asking why else he would kiss her. He then flips the script, questioning if she just let it happen without liking him. Flustered and unable to explain, Aryam grips her clothes anxiously. Taking her silence as an answer, Byomyong turns to walk away again. In a panic, Aryam yells for him to wait, lunging forward and tightly grabbing his sleeve to stop him from leaving. Aryam quickly clarifies that it's not that she dislikes him. She reasons that not disliking is pretty close to liking, but she's not sure if that's a good enough reason to date. She asks for a little more time to think things through. Hearing this, Byomyong suddenly spins around and grabs her shoulders, completely startling her. Aryam instantly realizes she explained her feelings in the worst possible way and braces for his reaction. Instead of blowing up, Byomyong calmly straightens her clothes, leaving Aryam even more flustered. As she silently panics over her clumsy words, he completely misinterprets her hesitation. He coldly asks if she just wants to keep him in her lineup of potential guys. Horrified, Ariam tries to deny it, but he angrily questions if she expects him to wait around with no pride. Cornered by his hurt reaction, she stammers, totally unable to explain what she truly meant. Overwhelmed, Ariam mumbles an apology as Byomyong coldly tells her to forget it. He turns to leave, but she instinctively grabs his arm, stopping him in his tracks. He whips around, yanking her close until they're face to face. Calling her a sly fox, he declares he'll be part of her lineup, but on one condition. She has exactly 1 week to decide whether or not they're going to date, giving her a final ultimatum. 5 days pass with total silence from Byomyong. At the cafeteria, a fuming Ariam stabs at her lunch, annoyed by his ultimatum. He hasn't shown his face since, but he apparently had plenty to say to her mom. Irritated that this sneaky tiger is ghosting her, she realizes the choice is now completely hers. Just then, her acquaintance Jong Hae-soo walks past, noticing Ariam's rage and finding Byomyong's hunting tactics incredibly annoying. A familiar voice interrupts Ariam's brooding. It's Seonmi, who seems shocked to find Ariam eating at the school cafeteria. She asks about the publishing company internship, assuming Ariam landed a full-time gig. Annoyed, Ariam explains she chose not to renew, which earns her a passive-aggressive comment about having choices. Fed up, Ariam gets up to leave, saying she has someone to meet. Seonmi pries, but Ariam coolly shuts her down, stating it's someone she wouldn't know. As Ariam walks off, she lets out a heavy sigh, admitting to herself that she doesn't want to go home. Just then, her acquaintance Jong Hae-soo pops up, noticing how terrible she looks and asking if something happened. Ariam quickly denies it. Hae-soo cheerfully asks if she's heading to the library and says they'll see each other around. But as Ariam walks away, Hae-soo's friendly expression fades and she coldly mutters, "If we ever do." As dusk settles, Ariam wanders the streets, her mind racing. With only 2 days left on Byomyong's ultimatum, she's completely lost. Suddenly, a hazy memory flashes through her mind. Her and Byomyong, their faces just inches apart. She snaps back to reality, her face burning red. Convinced she's going crazy for acting so reckless, she doesn't notice a man walking past until she recognizes his back. Her eyes widen in disbelief as she realizes it's Deputy Kwon. Ariam reels back in shock, her mind racing. Why is he of all people here? She desperately scans for a place to hide, planning to loop around through the underground parking lot to escape unnoticed. But her plan is cut short when a voice calls out her name. Ariam freezes mid-step. A young man with a blindingly cheerful smile approaches, confirming that it's really her. It's Choi Jeongo, one of Byomyong's old high school classmates. Ariam is horrified to see Deputy Kwon, her creepy former boss. He plays it cool, claiming he was just in the area, but she immediately knows he's lying. He leans in, inviting her for coffee, and she visibly recoils in disgust. A quick flashback reveals he's been persistently bothering her even after she quit her job. His friendly act shatters when he casually remarks what a coincidence it is, revealing he knows exactly where she lives. A chilling memory surfaces, revealing what truly terrified her about Deputy Kwon. Every time she rejected his advances, his friendly facade would instantly shatter. His face would turn cold as he interrogated her, demanding to know who she was meeting, and if it was really so urgent. Back in the present, she trembles uncontrollably, stammering an apology. As he steps closer, invading her space, a terrified Ariam stumbles backward, desperate to get away from the predatory man cornering her. Just as Deputy Kwon gets too close, a hand clamps down hard on his wrist, stopping him cold. Ariam looks up, completely stunned to see Byomyong standing there, his eyes glaring over his mask. He pulls her behind him in a single, protective motion. With a voice dripping with menace, Byomyong demands to know what business the man has with his girlfriend. Both Ariam and her creepy ex-boss are left speechless by the sudden and bold claim. Thinking fast, Ariam confirms the lie, telling her ex-boss that Byomyong is her boyfriend who she was on her way to meet. A stunned Deputy Kwon demands to know how long they've been together. But Byomyong shuts him down with an ice-cold question, asking why it's any of his business. The sheer menace radiating from him makes the creepy man tremble on the spot. Mortified, Ariam can't even bring herself to look at Byomyong. Byomyong gently cups Ariam's face, his intense gaze fixed on her. He tells her to go inside first, promising he'll finish up and join her soon. Deputy Kwon watches, completely bewildered by the intimate display. Playing along, a blushing Ariam tells Byomyong to hurry so their soup doesn't get cold. After a reassuring pat on her head, Byomyong's gentle expression instantly hardens as he turns back to deal with his stunned ex-boss. Ariam practically bolts into the apartment building, her heart racing. Fumbling with trembling hands, she repeatedly presses the elevator button, desperate to get away. The second the heavy steel doors slide shut, sealing her inside, her strength completely vanishes. She collapses onto the floor, letting out a long-held breath. A powerful wave of relief washes over her as she realizes she has finally, truly been saved from that horrifying encounter. Waiting for the elevator, Aryam reflects that Byomyeong's arrival was a good thing. She knows her creepy ex-boss only backs down when faced with someone stronger. Suddenly, the doors slide open, and Byomyeong himself steps inside, startling her. The air grows thick with awkward silence as they stand side by side. He finally breaks the tension, asking if she's okay. Aryam shyly confirms her ex-boss is gone, and Byomyeong confidently assures her he won't be back. A sudden realization hits Aryam. This wasn't the first time her creepy ex-boss had shown up. She timidly asks Byomyeong if he's been there before. He grips her sleeve, his voice tight as he demands to know why she didn't tell him. Aryam explains that he was busy with his new team, and she didn't want to bother him. Looking pained, Byomyeong pulls her close, insisting she has nothing to apologize for, before declaring that it's all his fault. Lost in her thoughts, Aryam wonders what Byomyeong truly means to her. Just then, the elevator doors slide open. She stumbles out, completely off balance, but someone catches her just in time. It's Choi Jeongo, Byomyeong's classmate. He tells her to watch out and asks what the rush is. Aryam stammers that it's nothing, but he isn't buying it, demanding to know what's really going on with her. Still holding her arm, Choi Jeongo demands to know if she has something to say to him. A flustered Aryam barely manages to thank him, but he's not satisfied. He presses her, asking if that's really it. Leaning in, he cryptically reminds her that only 2 days are left. He declares that if she doesn't give him an answer by then, he'll take her silence as a no, leaving the poor girl completely baffled by his ultimatum. As their tense conversation ends, another man suddenly confronts Aryam in the hallway. It's Jong Hae-soo, an old acquaintance. He accuses her of planning to avoid him. Aryam immediately denies it, but he just scoffs. He leans in close, his voice cold as he declares that he was actually the one who was never going to see her again. Without another word, he spins on his heel and walks away, leaving her completely stunned by the bizarre encounter. Furious, Aryam thinks about how words aren't enough to fix things with Byomyeong. Suddenly, Jong Hae-soo reappears, grabbing her arm. He demands to know since when she started liking him. Utterly panicked, Aryam clamps her hand over his mouth to silence him before anyone can overhear. While he struggles to repeat the question, she frantically looks around, hissing at him and asking if he's completely out of his mind. Jong Hae-soo smugly insists his aggressive approach is helping her decide, reminding her she ran to him like she was afraid she'd never see him again. He teases that she was scared to lose him, prompting an annoyed Aryam to pinch his side hard. He yelps in pain, asking if she's trying to kill him. She coldly retorts that it wasn't nearly enough. As he turns to leave, she suddenly grabs his arm, stopping him in his tracks. Grabbing Jong Hae-soo's arm, Aryam furiously tells him to just wait. Though he's stunned, he silently promises to get his revenge. 2 days later, Aryam is an absolute wreck. She lies in bed, completely tormented by her own empty threat.
What did she even mean by that?
The thought drives her crazy, because she can't think of a single way to get back at him, and the worry is eating her alive. Startled by the sound of a soccer game, Aryam emerges from her room only to find Byomyeong on her couch. He's completely engrossed in the match, shouting at the screen. Confused about where her parents are, she stands there awkwardly as he ignores her existence. The tension is unbearable. Finally, her face flushing with embarrassment, she hesitantly speaks his name, trying to get his attention in the heavy silence of the living room. Byomyeong finally turns, asking what's wrong with her face. He points out she looks totally wrecked from lack of sleep, but she just retorts that he doesn't look so great himself. She plops onto the couch, complaining that a week is too short for her to decide. He smugly counters that the world was made in 7 days. Frustrated, she yells that she isn't God, but he calmly states he only cooperates when they're dating, demanding her final answer. Stuttering, Aryam begins to ask what she is to him. Before she can finish, Byomyeong leans in, his face just inches from hers. He completes her sentence, asking if he's totally out of the question as a romantic option. The tension is electric as they stare at each other. But then he abruptly stands up and walks away without a word, leaving Aryam frozen on the couch, completely blindsided and wondering what just happened. Jong Hae-soo looks down, completely baffled to see Aryam's hand tightly gripping his shirt. He asks what she's doing and if this is just some half-hearted desire. He calls her name, but she keeps her head down, blushing. He gently tells her it's okay to let go now. But then he changes his mind. Firmly grabbing her hand, he says no, pulling her around to face him as he calls her by her full name. Byomyong's expression softens as he gets closer. He quietly asks if he can hold her hand. When he reaches out, Aryam flinches and he pulls back, asking if she doesn't want to. Totally flustered, she quickly denies it, saying it's not that, it's just really awkward. He pushes a little, asking if that means she doesn't hate him. Shocked by the question, Aryam blurts out that there's no way she could ever hate him. Stuttering, Aryam confesses that she likes him too, leaving Byomyong completely stunned. She immediately panics, trying to take it back. She explains that she's known him forever and only sees him as a brother. But Byomyong smoothly counters her argument. He tells her to stay the same. He'll be the one to change things between them.
Confused, she asks how.
Leaning in with a confident smirk, he promises to treat her incredibly well and do anything she asks. He promises to do whatever she asks, and Aryam can only question his words in a daze. Suddenly, his hand shoots out, grabbing hers in a firm, unyielding grip. She flinches from the unexpected contact, startled by his forwardness. He's not asking anymore. He's showing her his resolve with a single, decisive action. This time, he is making it absolutely clear that he will not let her push him away again. A wave of clarity washes over Aryam as she remembers the moment he almost gave up. Seeing him turn away, she knew she couldn't just let him go. The decision was suddenly simple, making her worries feel pointless. Blushing furiously, she shyly asks if yesterday was their official first day. Internally, she admits defeat in their little game of push and pull. When he asks if her food is bad, she snaps out of it, insisting it's delicious. The doorbell chimes, and Byomyong casually walks in. Aryam's mom is delighted and insists he join them for breakfast. When she asks Aryam to get him a bowl of rice, Byomyong quickly stops her. Placing a hand on her shoulder, he tells her to just keep eating and gets the rice himself. Aryam is totally baffled. He promised to change, but this is exactly how he always acts. She fails to notice his ears are burning bright red. Aryam stares, completely flustered. He's supposed to be the fierce tiger from next door, so why does he suddenly look so cute? As he puts on an apron to wash the dishes, he orders her to just sit still and watch him. Aryam, baffled, asks if he's sure, but he insists she stay put. Reluctantly, she agrees. A faint, pleased smile appears on his face, his own cheeks turning a little red as he gets to work. Byomyong suddenly announces he has something for Aryam at his place. He grabs her hand and tells her mom he's taking her out for a bit. Her mom, totally on board, cheekily says he doesn't even have to bring her back. Once they arrive next door, Aryam shivers, asking why it's so cold. He flips a switch, assuring her the heat is on. When she asks again about her supposed gift, he just takes her hand and gently pulls her close. Byomyong abruptly asks Aryam if they're dating now. Completely flustered, she points out that he was the one who originally declared it. He gets impatient, admitting she's right but demanding to know what's different now. He promises to change like she wanted, but says he needs reassurance first. Gently, he intertwines his fingers with hers, explaining he needs to know for sure that they're a real couple. A baffled Aryam asks how she's supposed to do that. Staring at her, he asks what she wants him to do. He looks her dead in the eye and makes his demand. She needs to kiss him first. Aryam is completely floored, asking why she has to be the one. He explains that even though she confessed her feelings, nothing feels different, and it's still awkward between them. She fires back that she can't just change overnight, but after a tense pause, she caves, telling him she'll do it if he closes his eyes. With Byomyong's promise to close his eyes, a nervous Aryam leans in. But it's a complete trick. Just as she gets close, he smirks and takes control, tilting her chin up to meet his lips. Completely stunned, she realizes he played her. He deepens the kiss, holding the back of her head firmly. As things get more intense, he softly tells her to open her mouth a little, completely taking the lead. The moment intensifies as Byomyong takes complete control. He gently pushes Aryam back onto the sofa, never breaking their connection. His hands grip her shirt as he completely overwhelms her senses. When he finally pulls away, leaving her breathless and dazed, she lies there in shock. Her heart hammers against her ribs, and she wonders if it's really pounding as loudly as she thinks. She is utterly captivated by the sudden turn of events. The intense moment deepens as Byomyong completely takes over. He grips her shirt tightly, his composure shattering as he loses himself to the overwhelming feeling. The air grows heavy with their ragged breaths as he moves with a desperate energy. Finally, he collapses against her, head buried in her shoulder. Completely overwhelmed by the raw emotion flooding his senses, he admits to himself that this feeling is driving him absolutely crazy. The kiss deepens, leaving Aryam completely breathless as he pins her to the sofa. When he finally breaks away, she pants that it's too hard. Confused, Byomyong asks if she's scared of him. With a gasp, she clarifies that she literally can't breathe. A smirk crosses his face as he realizes her inexperience. He playfully pinches her nose, teasingly instructing the dummy to breathe through her nose, not her mouth. Flustered, Ariam snaps that her nose isn't just for looking pretty, arguing it's hard to breathe. She then shyly admits that everything with him is a first for her. A bit surprised by her honesty, Byomyong softens. He pulls her in for another kiss, this time gently instructing her to breathe slowly. Annoyed, she asks if he thinks she's stupid, but he just smirks, coolly replying that from where he's standing, she definitely is. He pulls her back in, teaching her how to breathe through a slow, deep kiss. They both get lost in the moment until he finally pulls away, asking if it was better. Ariam is completely flushed, her heart pounding as she gasps for air, wondering if this feeling was more than just a breathing issue. Byomyong observes that the lesson was too short. Before she can protest, he declares it's not enough, leaving her utterly stunned by his intensity. Flustered, Ariam promises she'll do better next time. Unrelenting, Byomyong demands to know when. She nervously suggests tomorrow, but he worries she'll forget everything by then. He offers a deal. If she kisses him first, right now, he'll agree to wait.
Panicked, she gives in.
But then he changes the terms, sitting down and insisting it must be tomorrow. Why the sudden rush? Because the day after, he already has plans to meet someone else. Ariam asks if his plans are with that same friend from before, but Byomyong corrects her, saying the person isn't just a friend. Reluctantly, she agrees to his demand. He then asks for her hand, surprising her. She admits she thought his earlier promise of a gift was just a line to get another kiss. But he reveals a beautiful bracelet, fastening the red heart charm around her wrist. He tells her it suits her, leaving her blushing and completely stunned by his gesture. Byomyong commands Ariam to never remove the bracelet, reminding her that she always loses accessories. She nervously agrees to keep it on. Later, while trying to study at the library, Ariam is completely distracted. She touches the charm on her wrist, realizing the gift is real and not just a dream. The expensive bracelet is a constant reminder of him. Flustered and annoyed, she admits there's no way she can focus on her work now. Later that night, Ariam hears hurried footsteps outside her door. Just as she thinks he's arrived, Byomyong appears, panting heavily as if he ran the entire way. Shocked, she asks why he's so out of breath and scolds him for not drying his hair. He explains his parents are out for the evening and casually tells her to just reheat the side dishes his mom made for them. He's clearly making himself at home. Byomyong immediately takes the heavy box from Ariam, forbidding her from carrying such things. He reminds her that she's on her own if she drops it and breaks her foot again. As he sets it down, he casually asks about her day. She stammers that she was studying, but he sees right through it. A smirk plays on his lips as he asks if she thought about him. She panics and denies it, asking why she would, but he simply replies, "Because I'm your boyfriend." Ariam nervously asks if he thought about her. With a grin, he says of course he did, all day long. But then he casually admits he was just playing soccer, and she realizes he's teasing her. He smirks, glad she figured it out. Suddenly, his demeanor shifts as he steps closer, asking if she's hungry. She stammers that she isn't. He leans in, whispering that he's not hungry either, and asks if he can get what he came for. Byomyong leans in, asking if she wants to get intimate right there in the kitchen. A flustered Ariam stammers that it's not a good place. He then suggests her room, and when she hesitates, he offers to go to his apartment instead. Terrified at the thought of willingly walking into the tiger's den, she quickly agrees to her own room. He firmly takes her hand, leading her down the hall before shutting the bedroom door behind them with a decisive click. Byomyong gently guides Ariam backward toward her bed, his own face blushing but his gaze never wavering. He softly commands her to lift her head. Before she can process his words, he closes the distance between them. He presses his lips to hers in a sudden, deep kiss. Her initial shock quickly melts away, and she finds herself giving in to the moment, letting out a soft sound of acceptance as he pulls her closer. As the kiss deepened, Ariam's mind went blank. Every place he touched felt like it was burning. He pulled her flesh against him, his touch growing bolder by the second. She tried to tell him to wait, to slow down, but her words were completely smothered. Suddenly, she felt his hand slip beneath her shirt, his warm fingers brushing against her bare skin. The unexpected contact sent a jolt of pure shock right through her entire body. The intensity of the moment completely overwhelmed Ariam. Byomyong's touch grew bolder, his hands exploring freely as he deepened their kiss. Byomyong abruptly pulls away, his face beet red as he hides it in his hands. He stammers out an apology, admitting that he must have completely lost his mind for a moment. He explains that she was just too beautiful, so insanely gorgeous that he couldn't control himself. Noticing her own dazed expression, he tells her she can hit him if it will make her feel better. He then gently wipes her face and tells her to blow her nose on his shirt. As Byomyeong offers a shirt, Aryam flatly refuses. He immediately freaks out, apologizing and asking if he scared her. But she wasn't rejecting him. She just had one condition. She calmly tells him that next time, he needs to take it slower. The phrase "next time" completely short-circuits Byomyeong's brain. When she admits her legs gave out, he helps her up, his ears blazing red. She smirks, knowing exactly what kind of thoughts are racing through his mind. Seeing his flustered state, Aryam teases him, asking if he ever thinks about anything else. He quickly denies it. But when she tries to adjust her clothes, her hands are shaking too much to fix the clasp. She turns and points directly at Byomyeong, ordering him to fasten what he unfastened. Then, she completely changes gears, complaining that she's hungry and telling him to hurry. He can only gulp, completely short-circuited by her unpredictable moves. He reluctantly agrees to help, his face flushed red as his hands tremble. Aryam watches his meltdown, thinking to herself that he's totally corrupted. He suddenly jerks back, apologizing and claiming it's because she's just breathtakingly beautiful. Taken aback, she asks what he finds so pretty about her. This simple question completely short-circuits his brain, which starts chanting that she's the most beautiful girl in the world, leaving her stunned by his raw intensity. Completely frozen by his intense confession, Aryam breaks the tension by mumbling that she's hungry. Byomyeong springs into action, promising to make her food right away. Her face still bright red. Aryam tells him to wait. She turns away, touching her lips in disbelief. Convinced he must have lost his sharp eyesight to call her so beautiful, she tries to compose herself by looking for her lip balm, completely flustered by his words. After her shower, Aryam blow-dries her hair, unable to shake off her flustered feelings. She keeps glancing at her phone, annoyed as she wonders who Byomyeong could be meeting that's keeping him from contacting her. Suddenly, she hears a rustle outside her room. Thinking it must be him, she quickly pulls a sweater over her head and calls his name. But instead of Byomyeong, she's shocked to find her dad standing there, asking why she's still awake. Her dad stumbles home late, getting an earful from her mom for being out so late. He just laughs, happy that his daughter is worried about his health. After some playful bickering, Aryam heads back to her room, annoyed that Byomyeong still hasn't shown up. She can't believe he wouldn't even send a text if he was running late. Just as she's stewing in her thoughts, her phone suddenly buzzes. Speak of the devil, it's him. Answering the phone, Aryam tries to sound cold. It's Byomyeong, and he's right outside her apartment, asking her to come down. Confused, she asks why he's there so late. He bluntly declares that he just wants to go on a date. Completely flustered, she stammers an okay and frantically rushes to change, telling him to wait. She quickly tells her mom she's stepping out to meet a friend, getting a questioning look in return for leaving so late. As she heads for the door, Aryam's mom, with a face mask on, asks if she's meeting a boy. Completely flustered, Aryam stammers that it's a girlfriend and she'll be right back. Her mom warns her not to stay out late, but then adds a hilarious twist. If anything happens, she should call Byomyeong. Caught off guard by the irony, Aryam quickly agrees and bolts out the door before her mom can get any more suspicious. Aryam hurries outside, apologizing for the wait. Byomyeong immediately questions why she came out dressed so lightly in the cold. Blushing, she admits she underestimated the chill. He gently wraps his jacket around her shoulders, and they begin walking hand in hand. Curious, Aryam asks who he met earlier. He gives a vague answer, just saying it was someone he knew. When she pushes for a real name, he gets irritated, defensively shutting down the question. Not satisfied, Aryam pushes, arguing that someone has to have a name. Byomyeong dismisses her question, claiming his agent just set up a meeting for an ad. A flashback shows a fan recognizing him earlier, but Byomyeong denied his identity to avoid making a scene. Back in the present, he silently notes his growing fame. Meanwhile, Aryam observes how much more polished he seems lately, wondering if he's been doing photo shoots or something similar. Aryam's mind starts racing with insecurity. With Byomyeong getting so famous, she wonders if it's really okay for a guy like him to be seen with her. Lost in her thoughts, she begins to wander off. But Byomyeong quickly stops her, grabbing her hand and pulling her straight into his chest. He softly asks if she's cold. A little flustered, Aryam admits that she is, and a gentle smile plays on his lips as he touches her hand. Byomyeong looked up at Aryam and boldly declared his desire to kiss her. A flustered Aryam accused him of always thinking about stuff like that, but he just asked if she didn't want to. She stammered, worried that someone might see them. Assuring her that no one was watching, he pulled her in and planted a gentle kiss on her cheek. He smiled, calling her cute and pointing out her red nose and round eyes, comparing her hands to a bunny's. Ariam thinks he's just teasing her, wondering why he'd call her a bunny. He explains it's because she's small, white, and adorable, like a squishy rice cake. Without warning, he yanks her right onto his lap. A flustered Ariam calls him a sneaky tiger for glancing at her chest. Unfazed, Byomyong boldly declares that he wants to look at and touch her every day. When she asks if he's drunk, he simply cups her face. Byomyong calmly stated that he wasn't drunk, then silenced her with a deep kiss. He pulled back just enough to ask if she could breathe, but a beet-red Ariam shook her head. He teased her about their slow pace, but she shot back that this was already lightning fast. With a smirk, he told her that if she could see his thoughts, she'd realize his mind was moving at 5G speed. Ariam quickly understood, calling him hopelessly dirty. On television, commentators gushed over Baek Byomyong's soccer match. They praised his skills, famous looks, and even his godlike physique. Back at home, Ariam's mom asked if she was watching. Ariam flatly stated she was busy with work. Her mom brushed it off, ordering her to buy meat for bulgogi since Byomyong was visiting after the game. She mused that a steady guy who came back to Korea just for the food deserved to be fed well. Ariam and Byomyong grew up as next-door neighbors, practically raised together by their busy parents. When Byomyong returned to Korea alone, Ariam's family naturally took him in. Years later, he stands in her doorway, greeted warmly by her parents who gush over how much he's grown. Ariam offers a simple hello, but his response is cold and stiff. He barely makes eye contact, making her wonder why he looks so grumpy to see her. Back then, Ariam had been too worn out from her internship to even care about his return. At the dinner table, her mom fussed over Byomyong, but he surprised everyone by moving his piece of fish onto Ariam's rice. Her mom teased him for spoiling Ariam, but he quietly insisted he was happy as long as she ate well. Ariam was stunned to see he had even removed all the bones. She had no idea how much things would change. At dinner, Ariam's dad griped about babysitting his sister's twins. Her mom instantly warned Ariam to avoid having twins because it was too difficult. Ariam joked about having triplets, and her dad promptly volunteered Byomyong for future childcare duty. Her mom scoffed, saying a soccer player had no time for babies. Noticing their silence, her dad excitedly clapped his hands and declared they should just have one child together, leaving Ariam and Byomyong completely stunned. Her dad doubled down, shouting he wanted a whole soccer team from them, which left her mom speechless. Byomyong blushed furiously as the old man playfully warned him not to expect any babysitting help. Later, with her parents gone, Byomyong started washing dishes, telling Ariam he had it handled. When she insisted on helping, he cheekily suggested she could give him a kiss on the cheek. Ariam scoffed, muttering that there was no way she'd do that. Ariam quietly said she knew. Then, she suddenly reached out and grabbed onto Byomyong's shirt, pulling him to a stop. He froze instantly, a deep blush creeping up his neck as he wondered if she was nervous. Ariam asked why he was so startled. Flustered, Byomyong demanded to know who said she could touch him like that, calling it totally inappropriate. Unfazed by his outburst, Ariam simply gripped his shirt tighter and pulled him closer. With a cheeky grin, Ariam declared that this was what's inappropriate and suddenly hugged him from behind. She instantly realized she'd just walked right into the tiger's den. Byomyong growled her name, warning that his patience was wearing thin. Spinning around, he pulled her into a powerful embrace, pinning her against the counter. Ariam told him to ease up, but he just leaned in close, deciding she needed to be thoroughly scolded for her actions. Instead of scolding her, Byomyong leaned in and softly called her mean, though he secretly thought she was cute. Her heart pounded as he suddenly asked her on a date for the weekend. He suggested a popular spot, but Ariam worried it was too flashy. Concerned about his fame, she imagined them ending up on the sports news. He insisted he wasn't that famous, but she quickly shot back that everyone she knew was well aware of who he was. Byomyong demanded to know who this everyone was. Ariam vaguely listed off seniors, juniors, and classmates, but he wasn't satisfied. He pressed further, asking if she had a love rival among them. She just laughed, telling him that wasn't a thing. He insisted it could be, nervously fidgeting with her fingers. Sensing his jealousy, Ariam boldly challenged him. If he was so jealous, he should kiss her on the cheek. Completely flustered, Byomyong immediately refused. Ariam tried to snap herself out of it, deciding to grab a quick coffee. But she couldn't focus on studying, her thoughts constantly drifting back to that sneaky tiger, Byomyong. His date proposal had her mind in a complete knot. Shaking her head to clear it, she pushed open the door to the campus building. But standing right in her path was Jong Hae-soo, a familiar face she wasn't expecting to see, holding a coffee of her own. Ariam and Hae-soo exchanged an awkward hello. Hae-soo noted they'd run into each other again, both grabbing coffee. She then suddenly pointed out that Aryam was wearing makeup. Before Aryam could process the odd comment, Haesoo vaguely explained she had to meet someone later. Immediately suspicious, Aryam eyed Haesoo's skirt. She got the feeling the words held a hidden meaning, guessing this mysterious meeting was probably with a guy. Aryam pointed out how unusually crowded the campus was. Haesoo explained that celebrities were filming a variety show. She then asked if Aryam was into that sort of childish stuff, a question that instantly grated on Aryam's nerves. The conversation shifted, with Haesoo bringing up Aryam's master's degree. She then made a backhanded offer, saying that if Aryam couldn't find a job, she'd ask a professor for her, a clear dig disguised as help. Haesoo continued her passive-aggressive lecture, criticizing Aryam for not keeping in touch with people. She advised her to be more social, warning that her lack of connections would be a weakness in the real world. Aryam, seeing the conversation's true purpose, coolly told Haesoo not to worry. But Haesoo wasn't done, accusing Aryam of planning to just marry to avoid working. The direct insult confirmed what Aryam already knew. Haesoo had always looked down on her. Realizing Haesoo wasn't even hiding her contempt, Aryam plastered on a bright, fake smile. She sarcastically thanked her for the concern, promising she'd be the first to get a wedding invitation. Haesoo shot back, asking if Aryam even had someone to marry, adding that with her personality, it could take 10 years. Just then, Aryam's phone buzzed. Before she could check it, Haesoo suddenly announced she had to go, turning and walking away, looking utterly shocked. Aryam answers the phone, and the caller identifies themselves as Seoul Entertainment. Her world stops for a second. That's her ex's old agency. The man on the line explains they found her resume, which he says she submitted 2 Wednesdays ago. He apologizes for the delay, admitting it got misplaced and assuming she thought she'd been rejected. Aryam is totally baffled, having absolutely no memory of ever applying to that specific company. She racks her brain, but comes up blank. As Aryam agrees to the interview, a hazy memory of that fateful day with Byomyong flashes through her mind. She shakes it off, eagerly accepting the Friday appointment. The recruiter offers to send the address, but Aryam excitedly interrupts, saying she already knows exactly where Seoul Entertainment is. After hanging up, a wave of disbelief washes over her. She turns around, completely stunned to find Baek Byomyong himself standing inside her apartment, looking straight at her. Aryam demands to know why Byomyong is in her apartment instead of at training, but he just asks why she's home so early. She excitedly announces that Seoul Entertainment contacted her for an interview, still in disbelief. As she starts to explain what the company is, he cuts her off, stating he already knows. Confused, she brings up that his first love was there. Suddenly, Byomyong grabs her arm, forbidding her from going, worried she might run into that jerk. Aryam realizes the jerk is Song Ruin from the boy band Luna. Byomyong absolutely loses it, shouting that he'd rather go blind than see her anywhere near that guy. She dismisses his outburst, calling it nonsense since the band broke up years ago. Unfazed, Byomyong makes a new demand. She should be his manager instead. Aryam is completely floored, but he argues that popular soccer players need managers too. Annoyed, she struggles against his grip, ordering him to let go. Losing her patience, Aryam kicks him hard in the shin, finally breaking his grip. She warns him that if he ever tries to control her life again, she'll put an end to it, boyfriend or not. Byomyong collapses to the floor, dramatically whining that she can't just kick a soccer player's leg like that. Annoyed but feeling a little guilty, she tells him to get up, but as she reaches for him, he suddenly yanks her down into a tight hug. Holding her tight, Byomyong suddenly apologizes, promising he won't act out again. He begs her to let it go just this once. Aryam is totally caught off guard. She thinks about how they usually fight for days after a blow-up like this, but his sudden cute act makes her anger completely melt away. As he buries his face in her neck, she asks what he's doing. He simply states he's apologizing. Annoyed, she complains that he's heavy. As Aryam gets ready to leave, she questions why Byomyong is home so early. He casually drops that he has a fan meeting, which only confuses her more. If he has a fan meeting, why is he at her place? Byomyong hits her with an unexpected answer. She's his fan, too. Utterly baffled, Aryam can only stare. He gets annoyed, asking why she chases after Song Ruin like her life depends on it, but has never come to see him. Byomyong complains that Aryam never watches his games. She brushes it off, saying she sees him at home anyway. He insists that he's seriously hurt by her absence, both as a boyfriend and a friend. Finally, Aryam snaps back, revealing the real reason. She can't stand watching him get hurt over and over. Hearing this, Byomyong softens and pulls her down beside him, encouraging her to speak her mind. He then simply holds her, asking her to forget it. Byomyong clings to Aryam, but finally gives in, asking what will make her feel better. A bright idea hits him, and he excitedly demands she attend his fan meeting that day. Stunned, Aryam calls the idea ridiculous and says she's too busy. Byomyong scoffs, reminding her she had plenty of time to chase after Song Ruin. Fed up with his pestering, Aryam snaps and declares that fine, she'll go to his fan meeting. Byomyong drives Aryam to the event, telling her to at least change into something less flashy. His jealous remark makes her realize he's always been bothered by her celebrity crushes. She flashes back to their younger days when her obsession with Song Ruin strained their friendship. She remembers snapping at a young Byomyong, warning him not to touch her precious Luna merch because he'd get it dirty. It seems this has been a sore spot for a long time. The flashback continues as a commotion breaks out in the school hallway. Students are shouting that the popular soccer player, Baek Byomyong, is fighting. A horrified Aryam pushes through the crowd to see Byomyong being held back, his opponent's face already bruised. The sight of his rage is too much for her. Unable to watch, she grabs her friend Minji by the arm and insists they leave immediately, pulling her away from the chaotic scene. Back in the past, a teacher furiously breaks up the fight, grabbing Byomyong's shirt and demanding an explanation. The memory fades, returning to the present day in the car. Aryam asks where she should wait during his fan meeting. Byomyong gently adjusts her hood, explaining he'll give her a staff badge to stay nearby. Suddenly cheerful, she asks if he'll buy her good food, leaving him momentarily stunned by her quick change in mood. Byomyong grins, promising to buy Aryam whatever she wants to eat. Her mood instantly brightens as she requests steak and cream pasta, which he agrees to get after the event. When they arrive, a massive crowd of fans is already waiting outside the venue. A staff member quickly guides them through a special entrance, past excited supporters holding up jerseys. Byomyong keeps Aryam close, leading her to a designated seat backstage, while she gawks at his popularity. A staff member named Young-suk greets them, shocked that Byomyong actually has a friend. He gives Aryam a staff pass and makes friendly conversation, even offering his business card. Before she can react, Byomyong snatches the card from her hand. He glares at the stunned staffer, angrily declaring that this sort of thing isn't allowed. Byomyong then orders the confused man to get back to his duties, leaving Aryam totally baffled by his sudden possessiveness. While Byomyong complains to the staff, they dismissively tell him to quit whining. Fed up, he suddenly grabs Aryam and pulls her away, ignoring her confused questions. He drags her into a secluded room and slams the door shut. Before she can react, he presses her against the wall, overwhelming her with a sudden, desperate kiss. The unexpected display leaves Aryam completely shocked and frozen as he leans his head against her shoulder, clearly overwhelmed. Pulling back, Byomyong tells the flustered Aryam to just stay with the staff and watch. Still reeling from the kiss, she asks why there are so many people outside, feeling out of place. He casually explains that this is actually a smaller crowd than usual. Aryam is completely baffled, wondering if he's some kind of celebrity. Without another word, he turns and steps out into the main area, where he is immediately met by a roar of screaming fans. On stage, a man who is definitely not Byomyong introduces himself as Byomyong, thanking the screaming fans for their support. Watching from the sidelines, Aryam is completely confused. She recalls him acting so nervous earlier, but now she wonders if he just dragged her here to show off how popular he is. While she processes this, another host announces a raffle for the grand prize, a signed shirt, sending the crowd into a frenzy. On stage, the host hypes up the crowd, announcing the grand prize is a soccer ball and a personal hug from Baek Byomyong. A stunned Aryam watches from the sidelines, wondering when her friend became such a showman. After a dramatic pause, the host draws the winning number, 76. The audience erupts, but one woman in a red cardigan leaps to her feet, excitedly claiming the prize. The crowd immediately recognizes her as the famous announcer, Choi Haeyoung. On stage, the announcer Choi Haeyoung gushes that she's a huge fan, fueling the crowd's suspicion that the raffle was rigged. As promised, the fake Byomyong gives her a hug while cameras flash wildly. Aryam watches from the side, completely dumbfounded by the whole charade. The host keeps the energy high, calling up more lucky winners. One by one, other excited fans get their own hugs and signed merchandise from the celebrity impersonator. After watching the whole bizarre event, an exhausted Aryam decides she's had enough and heads for the car. On her way out, a flustered staff member named Young-suk calls out to her. He asks if she could please help him carry some bags for a moment so he can clean up the area. A bit surprised but unable to refuse, Aryam agrees. After moving the luggage, Young-suk thanks her, relieved to have the task finished. As Aryam turns to leave, the staff member, Young-suk, stops her with a suspicious look. He asks if she's from Byomyong's agency, since he doesn't recognize her. A flustered Aryam lies and agrees, but he clocks the name on her ID. Suddenly, his friendly demeanor vanishes. He grabs her arm, revealing he knows the real staff member is still at the event. His grip tightens as he accuses her of sneaking in. Panic floods Aryam as Yongsuk's voice turns menacing, his face a scary shadow. Just as he drags her away, a new voice asks what's going on. It's Baek Byomyang. The staff member proudly reports that he caught a trespasser. But Byomyang's attention is elsewhere. He swiftly grabs Yongsuk's hand, stopping him cold. His eyes then lock onto the red mark on Aryam's arm, and he coldly asks who she is. Furious, Byomyang demands to know if the staff member is out of his mind. He grabs the man's collar, asking what Aryam possibly could have done to be grabbed so hard it left a mark. The stunned staffer can only stammer that he thought she was a trespasser. Byomyang demands proof, accusing him of hurting her without cause. As the crowd watches in shock, a memory flashes through his mind, a time when he fought to protect her before. Snapping back to the present, Aryam calls his name, trying to break his focus. To cut the tension, she suddenly announces she's hungry and wants to eat cream pasta and steak. A bewildered Byomyang turns to her, completely lost. Not waiting for him, Aryam declares she's leaving and he can stay behind if he wants. As she walks off, Byomyang, still grabbing the staffer, quickly hooks her hoodie with his finger, stopping her in her tracks. Still holding the staffer, Byomyang is stopped by Aryam, who calmly tells him to apologize first. He's furious, asking why he should be the one to say sorry. But one sharp look from her is enough to shut him down. Defeated, Byomyang apologizes for grabbing the man's collar but follows it with a chilling warning about touching Aryam again. Turning back to her, he says he's sorry but adds that she should apologize as well. After the staff member apologizes, Byomyang sarcastically asks Aryam if she's happy now before telling her it's time to leave. But Aryam smooths things over, politely apologizing for Byomyang's immature behavior. As they finally walk off hand in hand, she asks why he's so hot-headed. He just grumbles that the other guy started it. Despite his tough act, he inwardly apologizes, wishing he could always show her his best side. Seeing this vulnerable moment, Aryam just thinks he's cute. Waking up at the crack of dawn, Aryam quietly heads to the kitchen. She's surprised by an older woman who asks why she's awake so early. Just as Aryam makes an excuse, Byomyang strolls in, announcing his return and catching her completely off guard. Before leaving for a shower, the woman asks Aryam to keep Byomyang company while he eats. Now, Aryam is stuck having a cozy morning meal with the one person making her life a chaotic mess. Aryam tells Byomyang he can eat by himself, but he bluntly refuses. As she demands to know why, he casually shifts in his seat, his leg brushing against hers under the table. The sudden contact makes her flush bright red and freeze on the spot. Flustered, she asks if he's even going to eat. He simply looks at her and says not to go back to her room, leaving Aryam utterly baffled by his strange demand. Laughing, Aryam thinks Byomyang is just teasing her, but his serious expression says otherwise. He asks if she got him anything, revealing it's his birthday today. The realization hits Aryam like a truck. She completely forgot. Panicking, she apologizes profusely and offers to buy whatever he wants to make up for it. Byomyang just stares back silently, his hand clenching into a tight fist on the table, clearly hurt by her forgetfulness. Byomyang suddenly brings up the past, accusing Aryam of making handmade chocolates for another guy while treating him like scraps. Aryam fires back, reminding him that he was the one who ate them all. Their shouting match is cut short when the older woman storms in, demanding they act their age. She orders them to apologize, but their pride gets in the way. He refuses to go first, slamming the door as he leaves Aryam fuming. Furious after their blow-up, Aryam flops onto her bed, replaying the argument in her head. She thinks it was the worst fight they'd ever had. Her mind drifts back to Valentine's Day in middle school. She had stayed up all night making handmade chocolates for her celebrity crush, even though she knew he'd never see them. What she didn't count on was Byomyang finding the box and eating every last one. Snapping back to the present, she walks alone outside. As Aryam sits alone on a swing in the snowy park, Byomyang appears, calling her name. She's shocked he found her, but he just says he can see everything from his place. He gently cups her face, worried she'll get cold, and tells her to apologize. He finally admits how much he cried back then over the chocolates. Pulling her into a tight hug, Aryam whispers that she's sorry and it was her fault, realizing he never once apologized for that incident. Byomyang leans in close, finally revealing why he held onto the grudge for so long. He tells Aryam that her obsession with a celebrity made him feel worthless, questioning if a stranger was more important than their decade-long friendship. The real bomb drops when he admits he was just jealous that she never made anything for him. Stunned by the confession, Aryam finally understands the true source of his lingering hurt after all these years. Byomyang admits he felt like she didn't even see him as a real friend back then. Seeing his pain, Ariam apologizes for yelling and for forgetting his birthday. He tells her it's okay, but begs her to stop crying. Then, he reveals the biggest secret of all. He was only so upset because he liked her more. He gently kisses her forehead, and as he turns to leave, Ariam follows, insisting that she's going with him. Ariam tells Byomyeon that his mean words only end up hurting himself. A flustered Byomyeon quickly apologizes. A flashback reveals the real chocolate incident. He had questioned why she was opening his gift. Calling him mean, Ariam playfully tossed one chocolate at him before putting another in her own mouth. Leaning in close, she offered it as his real birthday present. The bold move left a young Byomyeon completely red-faced and stunned into silence. The full memory finally comes back. A younger Ariam cheekily offered the chocolate from her own lips, daring him to take it. A blushing Byomyeon immediately closed the distance, taking his gift with a kiss. But he complained it was too small and demanded more. Snapping back to the present, he echoes his past self. As he pulls her close, he repeats the exact same words, insisting that she give him more. Sitting alone on a campus bench, Ariam's mind is a total mess. She can't stop replaying the kiss, wondering when Byomyeon got so big and so skilled. With studying now completely off the table, she feels totally disoriented. She debates backing off but worries the huge tiger might get sulky. Lost in her thoughts, a voice suddenly calls her name. Snapping out of her daze, Ariam looks up to see her senior, Jong Hae-soo, greeting him in surprise. Jong Hae-soo asks Ariam if she came to campus to study. Flustered, she quickly agrees, feeling a bit guilty for her lie. He smiles, commenting that preparing for employment must be hard, but she internally scoffs, thinking she doesn't do anything difficult. Calling her brave, he suggests they find a quieter place to talk. Ariam notes his laugh is still as charming as ever and agrees to grab her coat before joining him. As they walk, Ariam remembers how Jong Hae-soo was a total campus heartthrob. She almost had a crush on him once but backed off when she realized he was just nice to everyone. He offers to buy her a drink, but she politely declines. Trying to maintain her studious act, she lies and says she visits the library daily to focus. Her mind then betrays her, flashing to the steamy kiss with Byomyeon, making her internal life feel ridiculous. Ariam's mind is anywhere but on her studies, replaying steamy moments with Byomyeon. Her daydream is cut short when Jong Hae-soo makes a surprising offer, a spot in his new job interview prep group. This is perfect timing for Ariam, who has an interview just around the corner. He kindly tells her she can decide after her interview and wishes her luck. She eagerly thanks him, grateful for the incredible opportunity. Later that night, Byomyeon casually asks if anything unusual happened. Ariam nervously insists nothing big occurred, though her mind is replaying their intense moments together. He senses her unease and asks if she's worried about something. Dodging the real issue, she mentions that a senior invited her to join a study group. Byomyeon's mood immediately sours, and he demands to know if the senior is a male, his jealousy flaring up instantly. Ariam confirms the senior is a guy, trying to downplay the situation. Unconvinced, Byomyeon presses her, asking if they were close in school. She insists they weren't, which only fuels a suspicion about the man's true motives. Fed up, Ariam snaps, calling him out for being jealous while offering no help with her interview. His entire demeanor changes. With a serious look, he calmly declares that he will be the one to help her prepare instead. Stepping into the room, Ariam models her professional interview suit for Byomyeon. She clears her throat and practices her introduction, but her mock interviewer is already flustered. Blushing, Byomyeon declares that her outfit is too suggestive. A baffled Ariam glances down at her business attire and asks what he's talking about. He then questions if she intends to wear stockings for the real interview, and she confirms that most people do, completely missing his point. Byomyeon insists she should just wear pants. Ariam argues that skirts suit her better, to which he declares that's the whole problem. Pushed to her limit, she warns him to stop complaining about her outfit or she'll flip the entire table. The mock interview begins, but a flustered Byomyeon can only stammer a nonsense question about how she arrived. Annoyed, Ariam reminds him of his role. Trying to recover, he formally asks about her hobbies. Ariam calmly lists her hobbies as reading and listening to music. Byomyeon's questions quickly turn personal, asking if she reads romance novels. This unprofessional line of questioning makes her wonder if it's an interview or a blind date. Suddenly, his tone hardens as he asks if her real motivation is some guy named Song Ruin. Utterly fed up, Ariam snaps. She grabs him by the collar and declares she's done with his ridiculous mock interview. Fed up, Ariam demands he take the interview seriously. A flustered Byomyeon quickly agrees, and she lets him go, thinking his reaction is kind of cute. He finally asks a real question about her core values. Ariam thoughtfully replies that trust and faith are most important. Byomyeon agrees, then suddenly lunges across the table. He wraps his arms around her, announcing it's time for a break. Before she can react, he insists they go on a date this weekend. The mock interview gets even weirder. Byomyong leans in close, asking for her measurements before shamelessly asking for a kiss instead. Aryam is completely flustered, wondering what kind of interview this is. He presses again, his face just inches from hers. Overwhelmed, she blurts out that he should stop asking and just do it. She realizes he was never thinking about the interview, but ironically, she admits to herself that she always expected this moment would come. Without another moment's hesitation, Byomyong closes the distance and captures her lips in a kiss. Aryam's surprise quickly melts away as she gives into the embrace. He effortlessly lifts her onto his lap, pulling her closer as the mock interview is completely forgotten. The professional pretense shatters, replaced by a raw, unspoken energy. His hands begin to wander, signaling that the line between them has just been permanently crossed in the heat of the moment. Byomyong's intensity grows as he trails kisses down her neck. Aryam whispers for him to stop, but her protest is weak. He gives her a gentle bite, and she yelps in surprise, though she quickly realizes it doesn't actually hurt. He pulls back, flustered, telling her not to wear this outfit to an interview because it's too revealing. A blush creeping up her face, she tells him he's the only one who looks at her that way before giving him a playful kiss. As they kiss, Byomyong tells her the outfit is far too revealing. She teases him, asking where exactly it's so sexy. But he's not playing around anymore. He is normally so careful, but once he gets started, all control is lost. In one swift and forceful move, he pushes her down onto the floor, pulling her blouse open. Aryam cries out in surprise, but he's already lost in the heat of the moment, whispering her name. Aryam realizes she was incredibly naive. This was never a real interview, and Byomyong is completely smitten with her. Flustered, she says she needs to wash up, but he immediately offers to help, leaving her baffled. As she tries to stand, she loses her balance and stumbles. Byomyong catches her in an instant, holding her securely from behind. He tells her to be careful, admitting that her clumsiness makes his heart drop every single time. Byomyong suddenly pulls back, his hands clumsily straightening her disheveled clothes. With a firm push, he steers her into the bathroom, telling her to wash up and come out. Aryam quickly slips inside and closes the door. Leaning against it, she hears the shower start, her cheeks burning from the encounter. A frustrated thought pops into her head. She definitely should have pinched his lip harder for being so bold just now. Staring at her reflection, Aryam worries about her ruined blouse. A knock snaps her out of it. It's Byomyong, wondering why she's taking so long. When she finally comes out, he leads her to the living room where he's laid out a full set of cosmetics. She thinks he's a beast of an interviewer, but he retorts that the interviewee is just too alluring. Flustered, she tells him to stop, but he simply says he never lies. Byomyong suddenly offers her moisturizer. Amused by his meticulous nature, Aryam agrees, thinking he's being cute. But before she can use it, he takes the jar and announces he'll put it on for her himself. He gently touches her face, his large hands carefully applying the cream. In that moment, Aryam realizes he isn't scary, he would never frighten her. He then asks if she seriously wants to work at Seoul. She quietly confirms she does. Aryam explains that she can't just throw away such a valuable job opportunity. Byomyong suddenly pulls her close, asking if she truly dislikes the idea of him working at Seoul. Before she can react, he changes his tone, promising to support whatever she wants to do. He then buries his face in her neck, and she tells him to stop messing around. In one smooth motion, he lifts her onto his lap, holding her tight. It finally dawns on her. Byomyong really likes her. The long-awaited interview day finally arrived. Waking up to the sound of sizzling, Aryam was shocked to find Byomyong casually making breakfast in her kitchen. He announced he was skipping training to give her a ride and told her to hurry up. But then he added a bizarre condition. She shouldn't dress up too nicely, as he would personally inspect her outfit. Completely baffled, Aryam headed to her room, muttering about how ridiculous he was being. Aryam emerged from her room, professionally dressed in a sleek black pantsuit. Byomyong took one look at her and immediately disapproved. Grabbing a gray jacket, he reminded her of his bizarre warning not to dress up too nicely. Completely lost, she asked what he was even saying. He leaned in close, teasing that her protest was cute before suddenly draping the jacket over her shoulders. When she asked about the occasion, he simply said it was his favorite kimchi fried rice. Byomyong's serious tone returned as he asked if she would do well at her interview. Aryam nervously admitted she wasn't sure. He encouraged her to give it her all to avoid regrets, then rested his head on her shoulder. He sighed that it felt like sending a child off to face the world. Annoyed, she reminded him that she was older. But when her confidence wavered, he hugged her tight, promising to take care of her if she failed. Pulling up to the interview location in the falling snow, Aryam told Byung-myung to drop her off. He gave her some last-minute advice, telling her not to be nervous and to do well. But then he cheekily offered to go in with her if she got too scared. Annoyed, she asked if he had a death wish. Turning away, she carefully walked towards the entrance, her heels slipping on the ground, before suddenly stopping dead in her tracks. Aryam glanced back, but Byung-myung was already walking away. Without even turning, he waved her on, a silent gesture telling her to get going. Taking a moment to compose herself, she took a deep breath and stared up at the massive glass building. She had to do this. Marching inside with newfound resolve, she approached the front desk. She confidently announced that her name was Ham Aryam and she was there to interview for the PR team. A staff member warmly greeted Aryam, saying they had been expecting her. She led the way inside, offering a drink, but Aryam nervously declined, worried she'd need the restroom. The woman showed her into a conference room to wait. Sitting alone, Aryam's anxiety spiked before the interview even began. Suddenly, the door clicked open as a young man told Director Jang he was leaving. A familiar, deeper voice simply told him to go ahead, making Aryam look up. A man entered the conference room, and Aryam immediately stood to greet him. The interviewer told her to take a seat, then began looking over her resume. He noted her impressive background, but bluntly asked why she would apply to such a small company. Though his question made her nervous, Aryam confidently answered that she wanted a job she could truly enjoy. Internally, she felt a surge of pride, thinking her mock interviews were paying off. Suddenly, a can clattered across the floor. Byung-myung found Aryam passed out on the couch, surrounded by empty cans. Gently waking her, he realized she'd been crying alone. But when she woke up, her first thought was food, groggily asking where the soup he promised her was. She clung to him, complaining that she was starving and had been waiting. Holding her close, Byung-myung couldn't help but find her cute. He then softly asked her what happened during her interview, but she just stared blankly ahead. Byung-myung pressed for every detail about the interview. Aryam recounted how the man first asked if she had a boyfriend. Instead of answering, she challenged his inappropriate question. But then, he completely blindsided her by demanding she sing. Byung-myung understood immediately. That's why she drank and cried. Aryam nervously told him not to be mad. Flustered, he gently reassured her he wasn't, just as she hugged him and whined that she was hungry. Byung-myung confessed that seeing her cry made him furious. Bracing himself, he asked what song she was forced to sing. Aryam tried to dodge the question, whining that she was hungry, but he pressed her for an answer. She finally caved and admitted it was the national anthem. Byung-myung immediately started shaking with laughter. Embarrassed, she yelled at him to stop. Finding her reaction adorable, he promised he would stop laughing and pulled her in closer. Byung-myung's first love was, and always had been, his neighbor Ham Aryam. During a high school gathering, an adult asked how she was settling in. Aryam happily replied that she'd made new friends and was even going to a concert. But the moment another guy's name, Song Luan, was mentioned, Byung-myung's mood soured. He fumed, realizing she was always looking for this rival. He recalled all the stupid, jealous mistakes he'd made, even stealing chocolates meant for him. Byung-myung remembers his jealous high school days. Fueled by rage over Aryam's obsession with an idol, he vowed to become more famous than his rival. That competitive fire made him a star athlete. Now, in the present, he rejects a huge career opportunity from a UK team. Holding a ring, he firmly tells his associate he's staying in Korea. He has unfinished business. This time, he is absolutely determined to confess his feelings for Aryam. Byung-myung enters the apartment, calling out Aryam's name, but he stops dead in the hallway. He hears her complaining from her room, fresh out of the shower. She mutters about how much she can't stand people who smell of sweat, calling it utterly disgusting. His mind flashes back to a painful memory of her saying the exact same thing, that she could never date a sweaty guy because the smell made it hard for her to even breathe. Byung-myung's heart sinks. He remembers all the times he came home from practice, and now he realizes she must have been secretly disgusted by him. He always knew she didn't like him back, but he never thought she outright hated him. Completely devastated and crying, he calls his associate to reconsider the transfer. This was the exact reason he'd left for the UK in the first place, determined never to come back. His past heartbreak repeats itself. Despite his massive success in the UK, Byung-myung was completely empty inside. All he could think about was how much he missed Aryam. This overwhelming longing once brought him to tears in the locker room. His teammates thought it was from scoring a goal, but the real reason was his heartbreak. He felt he couldn't live without her. He recalls seeing her again after 3 years apart and being stunned by how much she had grown. She was breathtaking, and he was left speechless. Byung-myung steels his resolve, refusing to give up on Aryam. He remembers showering constantly, doing everything he could so she wouldn't be disgusted by his scent and might like him again. His plan was working until they woke up in the same bed. Later, Ariam is on the couch crying about her terrible job luck, admitting she drunkenly sent her resume everywhere. Trying to comfort her, Byung says not all companies are nightmares and she doesn't have to work. Tearfully, Ariam asks how she's supposed to live without a job. Byung gently suggests she start a business or go back to school, promising to support her no matter what. Flustered by his intense gaze, she asks why he's staring. He tells her she's just too pretty. After she shyly calls him handsome, he leans in and asks for a kiss. Ariam points out that he always asks her that same question. Byung admits he's afraid she'll be surprised by his reason. He gently holds her face, confessing he couldn't bear it if she looked at him the way she used to. He then leans in for a soft, sweet kiss that reminds her of wine. When they part, Ariam points out he smells like alcohol. His mood instantly sours, and he aggressively asks if she can't handle it, causing her to timidly apologize. Sensing her hesitation, Byung offers to stop. But a blushing Ariam quickly clarifies that she just likes it way too much, pulling him into a deeper kiss. He cautiously asks if she can still smell the alcohol on him. She shakes her head no, confessing that honestly, even his scent is nice. Later on the couch, she starts laughing, saying she can't focus on kissing. Unfazed, Byung simply tells her to stop laughing then. A soft chuckle escapes Ariam as she gazes at the flustered boy before her. Deciding to tease him back, she tells him that he's handsome too. Her sudden compliment and playful tone catch him completely off guard. With a newfound confidence, she leans in and showers his lips with a series of sweet pecks. Byung's face turns bright red as he closes his eyes, melting under her touch as she gently cups his cheek. Later in the kitchen, Byung cooks soup for Ariam. He asks if she'll hang out with him that weekend, but she explains she needs to study, suggesting they meet in the evening instead. He then reveals the real reason for his urgency. Another training camp is coming up. Ariam is floored. She can't believe it, reminding him that his team just got back from a 3-week trip to Spain last month. A sudden sadness hits Ariam at the thought of being apart for a whole week. She wishes him a safe trip, trying to hide her disappointment. He quickly asks what she wants to do that weekend, determined to see her. Byung suggests a simple date, like a movie and a cafe. She happily agrees, leaning against his back. But their plans for a normal date are quickly derailed as their passion takes over, leaving Ariam breathlessly calling his name. Ariam opens her door, only to be startled by Byung standing right there. He's completely captivated, thinking she looks beautiful. When she asks how long he's been there, he avoids the question and gently pulls her along. Once outside, he walks a bit too fast, clearly eager to start their date. He apologizes, asking if she waited long. Ariam just smiles, amused that the guy who couldn't wait and came to get her is asking her that. As they walk arm in arm, Ariam asks what movie they're seeing. Byung says she can pick whatever she wants, admitting he hasn't thought about it. Ariam looks at him, noticing his ears are bright red, and wonders what's making him so flustered. Once they arrive at the crowded theater, he pulls down his hood and tells her to wait right there while he goes to buy the popcorn. Ariam watches from their table as Byung stands in the crowded concession line, thinking he definitely stands out from everyone else. Suddenly, a voice from the crowd calls out his name, recognizing him instantly. Seeing him get all this attention makes Ariam's heart pound for some reason she can't explain. When he returns, he asks if something's wrong, but she quickly dismisses it. He just hands her the popcorn, telling her to enjoy it during the movie. Inside the dark theater, Byung completely ignores the film, his eyes fixed only on Ariam. Flustered, she catches him staring and asks if he's there to watch her or the movie. As the film drags on, Ariam finds it incredibly boring and slowly drifts off to sleep. Suddenly, the theater lights flip on, and Byung gently wakes her. He asks if she's tired from the night before, but she quickly covers, claiming the movie was just that dull. Outside the theater, Byung teases Ariam, saying she obviously couldn't follow the movie because she was too busy staring at his face. Spotting an arcade, Ariam challenges him to a fighting game and raises the stakes. The loser grants the winner a wish. Byung smugly agrees, only to get completely demolished. Round after round, Ariam effortlessly defeats him. He's left in disbelief, realizing he just challenged an unexpected fighting game master to a duel he could never win. As they walk home, Ariam playfully asks Byung if he's sulking over his loss. He tries to play it cool and denies it, but his bright red ears give him away completely. To save face, he declares that he'll let her win next time. Stunned by his terrible excuse, Ariam laughs and calls his bluff, telling him to just try letting her win. Annoyed, Byung storms off ahead of her while she giggles at his sore loser attitude. As they walk, Byomyong abruptly stops and suggests they hold hands. While he's internally gushing over how cute she is, Aryam's mind goes completely blank, convinced her life is over. Their fingers intertwine, and when she instinctively tries to pull away, he just grips her hand tighter. Looking at her intently, he reminds her about the bet she won at the arcade. He then tells her it's time to cash in and give him her wish. Byomyong boldly demands that Aryam give her wish to him. Stunned, she reminds him that she was the one who won the bet. He argues that she wasn't going to use it anyway, leaving her speechless with his ridiculous logic. Before she can protest, he grabs her hands and interlocks their fingers, refusing to let go. Defeated and a little flustered by the sudden contact, Aryam finally gives in and asks him what his wish is. With a serious look, Byomyong tells Aryam she'll have to come inside his place to hear his wish. Blushing and hesitant, she has no choice but to follow him. He quickly unlocks his apartment door and steps in. Once they're inside, he pulls off his beanie, and the playful mood from earlier instantly vanishes. Feeling a sudden tension in the air, Aryam nervously asks what he's planning now. He just turns to face her, his expression unreadable. With a stone-cold, serious face, Byomyong suddenly leans in, closing the space between them. Aryam's heart pounds in her chest as she instinctively shuts her eyes, bracing for whatever is coming next. He reaches out and gently cups the back of her head, pulling her even closer. Flustered, she manages to ask why he's doing this. Byomyong finally reveals his wish, demanding that she be the one to kiss him. Aryam's eyes snap open in disbelief. Byomyong points out that she's never been the one to initiate a proper kiss. Confused, Aryam asks what he means. He coolly explains that a simple peck and a real kiss are two completely different things. Internally calling him a calculating jerk, she realizes he's cornered her. Taking a determined step forward, Aryam grabs his jacket and pulls him in, finally initiating the kiss herself. As their lips meet, the moment quickly deepens with surprising intensity. After the kiss, Aryam pulls back, completely breathless. To her, it felt like the very first time. She asks if he's happy now, but Byomyong says it was too short and he barely registered it. He demands she do it again. Shocked, Aryam can only stare as he leans closer, declaring that this is his real wish. Trying to comply, she gets on her tiptoes, annoyed that he isn't even bothering to lean down to help her. Struggling on her tiptoes, Aryam complains that she can't reach. Done waiting, Byomyong suddenly sweeps her off her feet, declaring that now he can take charge. He pulls her into a fierce kiss, carrying her deeper into the room. The moment intensifies in a blur as clothing is quickly tossed aside. Byomyong takes complete control of the situation, leaving Aryam overwhelmed by his sudden, passionate advance as he lays her down on the bed. Waking up alone, Aryam realizes her parents are out for the day. As she gets up to wash, a vivid memory from the previous night stops her cold. She remembers Byomyong leaning in close, his voice low as he confessed that he'd go crazy from wanting her. Mortified by the memory, she thinks he's a lewd tiger. Suddenly, Byomyong yanks her back under the covers, and she admits that his gaze makes her weak enough to agree to anything. Aryam gets out of bed, determined to wash up and make sense of everything. But as she gets ready, her bedroom door swings open, revealing Byomyong. Caught completely off guard, she demands to know why he isn't at his practice. He calmly informs her that it's snowing outside. Realizing practice would be cancelled, Aryam is left speechless and embarrassed by her outburst, suddenly aware of how little she's wearing in front of him. Flustered by her state of undress, Aryam asks if he has indoor training. Byomyong coolly informs her it's later this afternoon, then cheekily tells her to put on some pants. Realizing he's been looking the whole time, she explodes, demanding to know why he didn't tell her sooner. He just shrugs, claiming he thought she knew. Mortified, she calls him a sneaky jerk. Later, fully dressed, she finds him casually waiting on the living room couch. Byomyong observes that she looks sleepy, guessing she didn't sleep well either. As Aryam joins him, he casually calls her out for her bad habit of sleeping in. She silently fumes, knowing it's his fault she's so exhausted, but immediately denies it when he asks. Changing the subject, he tells her to dry her hair because he made breakfast. Aryam is left speechless when she sees an entire, perfectly cooked feast laid out on the table. Still fuming, Aryam glares at her reflection, blaming Byomyong for the dark circles under her eyes. He notices her poking at her face and asks if she has a pimple. She snaps back that it's dark circles and it's all his fault. Unfazed, Byomyong demands a closer look. Suspicious of his motives, Aryam hesitates, but he insists he's just curious. Giving in, she marches over and leans right into his face, asking if he can see them now. Byomyong completely ignores her dark circles, instead thinking to himself how pretty she is. As Aryam grows suspicious and tries to pull back, he seizes the opportunity. He suddenly yanks her forward, pulling her into a tight hug against his chest. With a smirk, he thinks about how he completely tricked her. Aryam is left totally shocked and blushing, trapped in his sudden embrace as her heart pounds against his chest. Byomyong breaks the silence, gently asking if she's okay. Mortified, Aryam wonders why she always falls for his clumsy tricks. She buries her blushing face in his chest as her heart pounds wildly. This is the first time she's ever felt this way. Though she's scared and her stomach is in knots, she can't bring herself to push him away. Instead, her hand clutches his shirt tighter, not wanting the moment to end. Byomyong holds her close, asking if she's alright. Aryam admits she feels dizzy. He gently touches her face, wondering if she's still awkward around him. Blushing, she denies it but then confesses the truth. She's scared. This is all completely new to her, and her heart is pounding out of her chest. As a heavy silence falls between them, she looks up, wondering why he has suddenly gone quiet after her confession. Byomyong suddenly leaps away, leaving Aryam completely baffled. He stammers out an apology, saying he never meant to scare her. An awkward silence fills the room as they sit on opposite ends of the couch. Internally, Aryam is freaking out. She didn't hate the closeness. She secretly wanted to hug him even tighter. Just as her mind races, Byomyong stands and calls her name. Her heart pounds as she looks up, waiting for what he'll say next. Byomyong breaks the heavy silence by suggesting they eat. The sudden proposal hits Aryam like a splash of cold water, leaving her utterly bewildered. Before she can even react, he completely changes his tune. He turns his back on her, suddenly declaring that everything he said last night was a huge mistake and she should just forget it. Aryam is left frozen on the couch, recalling his shocking words. He had asked to spend the night with her. The reason for her fear suddenly clicks in Byomyong's mind. He recalls a traumatic event that Aryam herself doesn't remember, a failed kidnapping attempt when she was just a child. This is why she freezes up around men she doesn't know well. Furious with himself, Byomyong realizes he should have been more careful. He admits that when she's right in front of him, he loses all control over his impulses, making him feel like an idiot. Byomyong's mind spirals with intense longing for Aryam. He wants to hug her, kiss her, and be with her completely. Just making eye contact sends his impulses into overdrive. This isn't just a fleeting desire. He wants to promise her forever, put a ring on her finger, and marry her. This is the bruised pride of a man who has held a torch for 12 years. Suddenly, a familiar voice snaps him out of it, sarcastically calling him a star. The voice interrupting him is his classmate, Choi Jeongo. He smirks, mentioning he saw Byomyong's fan meeting on the news, specifically the hug with the famous announcer, Choi Haeyoung. Jeongo and his friends eagerly ask for details about her body. Disgusted, Byomyong tries to shut it down. But when Jeongo asks a crude question about her chest, Byomyong explodes. He rips his hoodie off and throws it in Jeongo's face, telling the loser to worry about his own trash body. This incident reminds Byomyong of another loser just like this from his past. In a high school flashback, a group of boys were discussing the prettiest girls in class. When the class president shyly admitted he thought Aryam was pretty, the conversation took a disgusting turn. Another classmate asked the group if they had ever seen her body, referencing a time she felt unwell during gym. A younger Byomyong overheard the entire vile exchange, which explains his explosive reaction now. The flashback continues as the classmate proudly recounts his story. He explains he went to the classroom on an errand and found Aryam changing with the door unlocked. He brags about seeing everything, making a vile comparison about her figure. As the group laughs, the classroom door slides open, revealing a silent, stone-faced Byomyong. Before the boys can react, Byomyong's fist clenches. A sickening thud echoes through the room, followed by a sharp scream of pain. Back in the present, Byomyong panics, realizing he never meant to scare her and now has no idea what to do. The scene flashes back to Aryam meeting her friend, Haesoo, who teases her for the urgent and mysterious summons. After Haesoo jokes about her getting scammed, Aryam nervously brings up her childhood friend, the soccer player. She then drops the bombshell. They somehow ended up dating. A shocked Haesoo demands to know who confessed first, and Aryam shyly admits it was him. Haesoo demands to know the mystery man's name, but Aryam hesitates. All she can think about are the controversial headlines and Byomyong's bad public image. She dodges the question, deciding it's easier to introduce him in person later. With that out of the way, Aryam gets to the real reason she called her friend. Blushing bright red, she shyly admits she has a question about her new boyfriend's very enthusiastic physical nature. Haesoo asks just how enthusiastic he is, wondering if they even kissed on the first day. When Aryam avoids the question, Haesoo worries he might have been too forceful. But Aryam quickly clarifies that he's a perfect gentleman who always asks for permission and respects her boundaries. Confused, Haesoo asks what the problem is. Aeriam finally admits he wants to take their relationship to the next level. Haesu immediately wonders if he's a player, but Aeriam says he told her she's his first. Haesu asks how long they've known each other. Aeriam nervously lies, saying it's been about 10 years. Knowing the real number would freak her friend out. Haesu shrugs, declaring that Byomyang is obviously head over heels. She tells Aeriam to stop making excuses and just go for it, advising her to find out if they're compatible now rather than later. If their physical chemistry is bad, Haesu bluntly states, Aeriam should just break up with him on the spot. After getting some much-needed advice, Aeriam parts ways with her friend Haesu. But even with her friend's support, she couldn't bring herself to ask the real question on her mind. She frets over how to tell Byomyang she needs some space, without sounding strange. Just as she's spiraling, her phone lights up with a new message. It's from Byomyang, and he isn't beating around the bush. He asks her directly, does she want to spend the night with him or not? On the bus, Aeriam spirals, unable to figure out what's wrong. Is she not into him anymore? Or is she just terrified of ruining their 23-year friendship if they take this leap? Her confusion quickly boils over into pure anger. She refuses to be some obedient pet he can order around. Muttering that Byomyang must have a death wish for being so demanding, she marches right up to his front door, ready for a confrontation. Furious, Aeriam storms into Byomyang's apartment, ready to give him a piece of her mind. Announcing she's home, she finds the place completely silent. Just as she wonders if he's even there, a shirtless Byomyang steps out, a towel in hand. All the fight drains out of Aeriam as she stares, totally flustered. Caught off guard, he tells her he needs to shower, ordering her to say her piece and leave quickly. Byomyang impatiently tells her to get out, but Aeriam drops a bomb. This is her house. He looks confused, stating his own address, but the realization dawns on Aeriam first. She's in her own apartment. In a flash of pure mortification, Byomyang slams his door shut and yells at her for her timing. Completely humiliated by her epic mistake, Aeriam dives under her blankets, ready to cringe herself to sleep. He really is her neighbor. At the university library, Aeriam's phone buzzes. It's a message from Byomyang, and just his name is enough to make her face flush. He asks if she'll be home early, but her noncommittal answer is met with silence, sending her into a panic. Why does she overthink his every move? Just as she's stressing, he offers to pick her up. Playing it cool, she agrees and quickly tells him to drive safe, hiding her giddy smile. Aeriam hops into the car, and Byomyang apologizes for the traffic. He immediately points out her makeup. Internally, Aeriam is giddy, remembering how she scrambled to look pretty for him, wondering if tonight was the night. But he just tells her she looks tired and should get some sleep. The abrupt shift leaves her stunned. All that excitement for nothing? After a silent ride home, he finally breaks the quiet, asking if she plans on getting out. As they sit in silence, Aeriam asks what he's thinking. Byomyang cuts straight to the point, telling her he wants a kiss. Her heart hammers in her chest, completely flustered by his simple request. When he asks if she's against the idea, she quickly tells him to go ahead. Realizing he does still want to be close, she shuts her eyes and puckers her lips, bracing herself. Byomyang leans in and plants a soft, gentle kiss on her cheek. Aeriam is left utterly baffled. A simple peck on the cheek? That's it? Byomyang gets out of the car, looking flustered himself, and tells her to hurry up. Later that night, still confused, Aeriam calls a friend for some desperate advice. She finally whispers the burning question, what does it mean when a guy says he wants to be with you one night, but then tells you to forget about it the very next day? Pacing her room, Aeriam wonders aloud to her friend if Byomyang is playing hard to get. Her friend immediately shuts the idea down, suggesting he probably got cold feet. She then asks Aeriam if she totally froze up when he leaned in. Stunned by how accurate she is, Aeriam goes quiet. Her friend sighs, explaining that guys can be super sensitive. It finally clicks for Aeriam. Her own awkward reaction must have been what scared him away. Her friend argues that of course she was scared. Who wouldn't be when a big old tiger lunges at them with no brakes? Cutting to the chase, she asks Aeriam if she actually wants to be with him. Aeriam shyly admits she thinks so. The advice is brutally simple: stop overthinking and just seduce him. Aeriam's mind immediately jumps to a wild scenario, which her friend hilariously praises before wishing her luck and demanding updates. Aeriam finds herself at a social event pitched as a networking opportunity, but it's just a rowdy drinking party. Annoyed, she immediately regrets coming. She silently blames Byomyang's confusing behavior, thinking she wouldn't even be here if he wasn't so frustrating. Deciding to power through the night, she chugs her beer. She had only agreed to come after hearing an important senior, Taeju, was hosting the get-together, hoping for a distraction or some useful advice. Byomyang immediately starts grilling Aeriam about her plans, wanting to know which senior she's meeting. She asks why he's interrogating her, and he boldly declares it's because he's her boyfriend. This, he claims, gives him the right to know if she's meeting another guy. When Ariam tries to explain, he gets flustered and accuses her of having ulterior motives. Later, sitting alone at the party, Ariam fumes, wondering if she really has to be the one to push things forward. At the party, Ariam is completely lost in thought, her mind stuck on one critical mission: how to seduce Baek Byomyong. An acquaintance, Jong Hae-soo, snaps her out of it, asking what she's thinking about so deeply. Ariam quickly lies, saying it's nothing. A woman with Hae-soo pats her shoulder, assuming it's just job-seeking stress. The group starts teasing each other about aging, but the mood shifts when the woman jokingly roasts Taeju Sunbae right to his face. As Ariam realizes the party is full of dolled-up singles, the conversation shifts to Taeju. An old classmate starts teasing him for being way more lively now than in high school, when he just followed girls around. The friend then puts him on the spot, casually asking about his old crush on Ariam. Seonmi chimes in, confirming Ariam was popular but so oblivious she'd reject guys without even realizing they were confessing to her in the first place. Seonmi continues the teasing, declaring Ariam is so dense she'll probably be single forever. The group then tries to set her up with a senior named Wonyoung, chanting that they'd make a cute couple. Totally flustered, Ariam begs them to stop. Backed into a corner, she suddenly shouts that she already has a boyfriend. The announcement stuns everyone into silence before they immediately accuse her of lying. Ariam insists it's true, but Seonmi just smirks and sarcastically plays along. Seonmi and the group laugh off Ariam's claim, pointing out she's always at the library and too aloof for a relationship. But as they mock her, Ariam's phone dings. It's Byomyong, and he's already near her school. Panicked, she tells him where she is and abruptly announces her departure. A flustered senior offers to escort her, but Ariam quickly refuses and dashes out to meet her boyfriend, leaving her friends utterly baffled by her sudden exit. Ariam quickly gets into Byomyong's car, and he immediately turns up the heat. He asks if she drank a lot, and she admits to a couple of beers. As she asks about his training, he gives her hand a gentle squeeze, saying it was the same as always. His gaze then sharpens, landing on her lips. He asks if she changed her lipstick color. When she confirms she liked the new shade, he leans in closer, demanding to know who she was trying to show it to. He pressed her, asking if she put on the new lipstick for the senior she was with. Annoyed, Ariam blurted out that it was obviously for him, then immediately regretted her honesty. The car screeched to a sudden halt. Stunned by her confession, Byomyong asked if she really dressed up just for him. He leaned in closer, asking for a better look. After she nodded, he gently lifted her chin, asking for permission to touch her lips. Without waiting for an answer, Byomyong closed the distance and kissed her. The moment was intense, but he suddenly flinched back, looking just as surprised as she was. He apologized for moving without her permission, leaving Ariam totally baffled. Her confusion quickly turned to rage. Was he seriously rejecting her again? Before she could lose it, Byomyong stomped his foot and firmly called her name, demanding her full attention as he began to question her. Byomyong cautiously asked if she was upset. She denied it, stomping her foot and marching into a convenience store to buy more drinks. When she slammed a shocking amount of alcohol on the counter, he grew anxious. Seeing his concern, Ariam challenged him directly. If he was that worried, she said, then he could go get the items they'd need for later. Byomyong froze, completely stunned, as she simply told the clerk to never mind him and ring her up. Walking away from the store, Byomyong asked if she was truly serious. When she asked what he meant, he nervously clarified he was talking about the protection she had told him to buy. Ariam simply puffed her cheeks and nodded, confirming everything. Completely flustered, Byomyong asked if she didn't want to, before tripping over his words and insisting that he absolutely did. His face turned beet red as he followed her down the street. Back at his apartment, Ariam noticed the drinks were already chilling in the fridge. Byomyong casually mentioned his parents were staying at his sister's place, leaving them completely alone for the night. When she asked about snacks, he went to the cupboard. He returned with an armful of chips, and Ariam's cheeks flushed. She was stunned to see that he had only bought her absolute favorite kinds, proving he had planned everything just for her. As they drank, Byomyong warned her not to get another blackout. But Ariam just laughed and squished his cheeks, calling him a timid little cat. The nickname completely short-circuited his brain. When she leaned in and asked if he hated it, Byomyong quickly insisted that he liked it, his ears turning bright red. Seeing his flustered state, Ariam touched his face gently, promising that this time, she was going to remember absolutely everything. Emboldened, Ariam suddenly planted a kiss on a shocked Byomyong. Finding him cute, she complained that he was too tall and playfully teased him about his chest size. A blushing Byomyong could only stammer a denial, completely flustered by her forwardness. Ariam smirked, pulling him into a hug. She whispered that his bright red ears were the most honest part of his body, betraying his cool facade and revealing just how much she affected him. As things heated up, Ariam suddenly got serious, asking what would happen if they broke up. Byomyang's playful mood vanished. He told her she couldn't leave him, but when she pressed the issue, he stood up abruptly, insisting that it was never going to happen. In one swift motion, he scooped her into his arms. He carried her directly to the bedroom, making his intentions for the rest of the night perfectly clear. As their night together intensifies, Ariam's mind flashes back through their history. She recalls how they started dating almost by accident, yet admits there was never a moment she didn't like him. He was the honest boy next door, whose eyes always sparkled for her, the one who eventually lodged himself in her heart. In the heat of the moment, a blushing Ariam looks up at him and finally confesses that she likes him, too. The next morning, Ariam wakes up with her entire body aching. She groans, barely able to move after the intense night they shared. Suddenly, the door opens and Byomyang enters, carrying a tray of food. He gently asks if she's okay. Annoyed, she retorts, asking if she looks alright. He simply places the tray down, explaining he made porridge for her. He tells her to eat up and then get some more rest, revealing a surprisingly caring side. As Ariam eats the porridge, she notices that the ever-thoughtful Byomyang even changed the sheets. He tells her he's off to practice but promises to rush back as soon as he's done. Trying to play it cool, she tells him not to hurry, but her body betrays her with a pained groan. This sends Byomyang into a full-blown panic, immediately suggesting a trip to the hospital. A beet-red Ariam has to awkwardly explain she just strained her back. Seeing her in pain, Byomyang tells Ariam to lie down for a massage. He explains that she must have shocked muscles she doesn't normally use. At first, she yelps and tells him to be gentle, but he quickly finds the right pressure. She melts under his touch, admitting his athlete hands feel amazing. When she asks if he has time for this before practice, he doesn't answer. Instead, he just flops face first onto the bed beside her. Byomyang suddenly admits he doesn't want to go to practice, questioning how he can leave while she's hurt. Touched by his concern, Ariam thinks he's cute. She pats his hand, reminding him he is training to prepare for. But instead of letting go, he turns and laces his fingers with hers. Looking directly at her, he softly asks for a kiss. A flustered Ariam can only blush and whisper back in agreement. The two share a soft, tender kiss. Lying together in the aftermath, Byomyang finally confesses his true feelings, telling Ariam that he really likes her. Later at soccer practice, he's completely lost in a daze. While his teammates hustle, Byomyang just stands there with a goofy, lovesick grin plastered on his face. His coach has to scream at him from the sidelines, demanding he get his head in the game, but it's clear his mind is still back in bed with Ariam. The coach's yelling snaps Byomyang out of his lovesick daze. But instead of looking ashamed, he gives his senior a bizarrely cheerful hug, thanking him for the coaching. His teammates are stunned, wondering if he's finally lost his mind. Fueled by this strange new energy, Byomyang unleashes a monstrous kick that nearly tears the net from the goal. His teammates can only stare in awe at his sudden, insane power, calling him a monster. Byomyang's newfound energy completely revitalizes him at practice, but his manic cheerfulness just freaks out his teammates. Later, he gets incredible news. His off-season training has been postponed. This means he has the entire weekend free to spend with Ariam. Back at home, his intense passion proves to be a bit overwhelming for her. As things get heated between them, a flustered Ariam has to plead with him to slow down and take it easy. After their intense time together, Byomyang's mind is completely consumed by thoughts of Ariam. He realizes the old saying is true, he can think of nothing else. Needing a moment to cool his head, he sits in his car, but his peace is shattered by a call from his agent, Young-sik. The agent has scheduled a last-minute interview for Sunday. But with his weekend plan set, Byomyang instantly refuses, shocking Young-sik with his firm rejection. Young-sik calls Byomyang, suggesting an interview about transferring to England, but Byomyang completely snaps. He shouts that he's not going and warns his agent to never bring up the topic again. A flashback reveals his past trauma. While he was away, he had to watch Ariam get close to another guy on social media. Not again. He threatens to tear up his contract over this, vowing that the spot next to Ariam is his and his alone. Byomyang returns home to find Ariam fast asleep on the couch. A possessive fire ignites in his eyes as he thinks to himself that she has always been his, and he won't let anyone else near her. He gently scoops her up, and she wakes up, surprised. After she asks about practice, she tells him she's hungry. Holding her tighter, he promises to cook, reaffirming his one true belief. His place is and always will be right beside Ariam.